Automobile Dealers Association, CADA, surveyed its dealers, and it found that they are stuck with 2,295 unreimbursed rebates worth about $10 million.
Turns out he got you up there too, Canada.
Yeah, and like
he grabbed you by the purse.
Not only is it like physically impossible, they don't have that kind of inventory, but they would have to sell like multiple cars per minute.
Yeah.
It's
impossible.
Even be true.
Now, it should go without saying that Canada is also justifiably a little pissed off at our country right now for obvious reasons.
What's going on?
And we're sure that ripping off one of their government incentive programs and just regular Canadian businesses isn't helping relations. But if for some reason you're somehow confused as to why everyone is just so dang upset with Elon Musk all of a sudden,
just trying to make things more efficient.
Well, we have some more Doge news for you, and that, of course, is the Department of Government Efficiency. And the Trump-Musk administration has fulfilled another one of their goals, which is also conveniently one of the big goals from Project 2025 as well, dismantling the Department of Education. It was announced that the Department of Education would be laying off nearly half of its entire workforce, essentially killing a department that has already been hamstrung by Republican presidents for decades. Oh no, that's Linda McMahon's music.
Yeah, it sounds like The Undertaker's music, but she's using it in this case.
And she's walking slowly but suspiciously towards the microphone to announce that they are firing half of the federal workforce.
She just chokeslammed the Department of Education through the top of the Hell in a Cell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By God.
Here's ABC News with more.
The Department of Education on Tuesday announced it is cutting its workforce by nearly 50% as the Trump administration proceeds with its plans to dismantle the agency. Today's reduction in force reflects the Department of Education's commitment to efficiency, accountability, and ensuring that resources are directed where they matter most, to students, parents, and teachers. What? Secretary of Education Linda McMahon said in a statement. I appreciate the work of the dedicated public servants and their contributions to the department. This is a significant step towards restoring the greatness of the United States education system. What? The announcement came hours after department staff were told all department offices in Washington, D.C. and all regional offices would be closed Wednesday for security reasons. The Education Department has numerous responsibilities, including enforcing non-discrimination policies in schools. It is also tasked with distributing federal financial aid for education and collecting and disseminating data and research related to schools. It also supports federal college loan programs and Pell Grants, as well as vocational training.
Well, we got to get rid of that. Especially after we've spent at least 50 years slowly dismantling it from within.
This is going to be a really set in just a few months. Really, like within the next month and a half, I think, when people start filling out their FAFSA forms. Mm-hmm. Everyone who's a senior in high school right now who maybe can't afford the exorbitant tuition costs in this country will be filing out the FAFSA form to see if they are entitled to any financial aid. And for many people, it is the difference between going to college or not going to college.
Well, the Trump administration would literally prefer if you do not go to college.
I know.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a lot of Trump supporters, though, who were planning on going to college, can't actually afford to go to college, and are going to be faced with some cognitive... they're going to have to...
Oh, he finally came for me! No! But elsewhere, in the dumbest fucking cuts you've ever heard of, FEMA has canceled classes at the National Fire Training Academy because of funding cuts.
Don't need it.
Yeah.
Now, fires don't happen.
Yeah, we should at this point remind you that all of these cuts are being done so that Trump and other rich assholes can continue to give themselves massive tax cuts. They have to take from all these programs in order to offset all the tax cuts.
Yeah.
Now, if they were serious about eliminating the deficit, they would simply tax billionaires what they owe instead of destroying programs that are vital to society, which cost relatively nothing compared to what billionaires owe.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, cutting fire training. Let's just cut fire training 2 months.
Yeah, we don't need fire training.
2 months after some of the most destructive fires in the country's history.
Well, those were anomalies, outliers.
100-year fires, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the Associated Press. The country's preeminent federal fire training academy canceled classes effective immediately on Saturday amid the ongoing flurry of funding freezes and staffing cuts by President Donald Trump's administration. The Federal Emergency Management Agency announced that the National Fire Academy courses were canceled amid a process of evaluating agency programs and spending to ensure alignment with administration priorities, according to a notice sent to instructors, students, and fire departments. Instructors were told to cancel all future travel until further notice. Firefighters, EMS providers, and other first responders from across the country travel to the NFA's Maryland campus for the federally funded institution's free training programs.
And that's got to be a fun program, True. They're probably lighting stuff on fire.
I mean, if this is your goal as employment and you want to help people, it's probably a real fun time to learn your trade.
I bet you during our fires back in January, Trump heard second or third hand that we had prisoners putting out the fires.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, so we got slaves to do this for us? Well, why do we need to spend all this money on fire?
I mean,
just throw the prisoners out there.
I mean, yeah. That
seems like something he would like, just upon hearing just even the most basic facts about it. Ooh.
He tied that to the probationary workers and then was like, yeah, these are all probationary workers.
Yeah.
They're all serving sentences.
The probationary workers, you'd lost your job, but you can go fight a fire now.
It sounds stupid, but he might actually think that. He said dumber things. Anyways, their reporting continues.
The NFA is a powerhouse for the fire service, said Mark Bashur, a former Maryland fire chief and West Virginia emergency services director with 44 years of fire safety experience.
What did he know?
Yeah. It's not a nice to have. It is the one avenue we have to bring people from all over the country to learn from and with each other. If we want to continue to have one of the premier fire services in the world, we need to have the National Fire Academy. The Academy, which also houses the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial, opened in 1973 to combat a growing number of fatal fires nationwide. At the time, the National Commission on Fire Prevention and Control envisioned it to be the West Point of the fire service, according to a report from the organization. Bashur said the NFA was set to welcome a new set of fire safety officers for training next week. People had made their plane and travel reservations, and all of a sudden they get an email that's, sorry, it's been canceled, he said. It's really upsetting. For firefighters, including those on the front lines of deadly fires that ravaged California this year, having an essential training institution shut down under the presumption that there's waste, fraud, and abuse has been demoralizing, Bashur said. He said losing NFA training could make the coordinated response that prevented additional deaths and destruction in California more difficult.
Yeah, I would say.
mean, Trump hears that and he's like, wait, really?
Oh, yeah.
More dead Californians? More dead liberals?
We know. All of this sounds like an awful lot like the plans that have been put forth by the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025. But you silly goose.
Never heard of it.
You fucking assholes. He said he hadn't read that.
Yeah. Too long. You think I read that shit?
Obviously, candidate Trump swore up and down, left, right, and center that he had nothing to do with Project 2025. And in fact, and this part I do believe, he hadn't even read it.
Yeah.
But obviously that was bullshit. I mean, yeah, he didn't read it. He didn't physically read it because he doesn't physically read. But
he needs glasses.
Absolutely aligned with it, and he's being guided by Project 2025 and its authors, who are and have been heavily involved in his administrations, including this one.
Coincidence.
Now, someone has put together a website that tracks Trump's progress towards fully completing the goals within Project 2025. And it looks like he's been pretty busy. If he's the Domino's tracker, the pizza has left the building. It is
the pizza is on its way, and it is hot.
It is hot and ready. Ow! With over
Confirmed. Damn it, we've lost the lead. Enemy shooter.
drinks and she supplied the drinks. Zachary says he blacked out and woke up to find an unidentified man plus Shangela trying to force themselves upon him. Zachary said, quote, "I heard Shangela say, 'Stick it in him,' and I quickly said, 'No. I am pretty sure that the unidentified man didn't do anything, but I passed out again, so I'm not positive.'" Two of Zachary's friends said he told them about what happened the next day, and they said from the sounds of it there may have been an assault, but Zachary remained starstruck. Zachary said he was a big fan of Drag Race and was starstruck by Shangela, but when he saw that Daniel McGarrigle's accusations had been circulated online, he said the allegations were very similar to what happened to him 7 years previously, and he realized it was, quote, "something bigger." Shangela's lawyer responded to this by saying that Zachary maintained a friendship with Shangela until 2016 and never mentioned the allegations to Shangela. The fifth accuser is named Roylee Solis, who alleges that back in 2012, when they were 20, they met Shangela at a Pride event at Texas A&M University. Shangela apparently invited them to a non-school affiliated event at a club. Roylee said Shangela provided them with alcohol and they ended up back in Shangela's hotel room. Shangela invited them to stay the night, and Roylee said yes because they were a fan of Shangela. Roylee had told Shangela they wanted to be a drag queen one day, and so Shangela had applied some makeup and given Roylee a wig to try on, and Roylee thought this was a start of a friendship. However, Roylee said when they were falling asleep, Shangela tried to coerce him into performing oral sex. Roylee said they were so drunk they didn't have the strength to say no because Shangela had gotten them so drunk, and the next day they felt, quote, "so nasty," and felt like it was their fault for getting so drunk. Shangela had already left the hotel room by the morning and left a note which said, quote, "Good morning, didn't want to wake you, keep in touch, signed DJ/Shangela." Shangela's lawyer said Shangela had no recollection of meeting Leroy, and Shangela does not necessarily dispute that she may have met Leroy over a decade ago, but she adamantly denies ever engaging in non-consensual activity. Another accuser named in the article is Joel, who said he was working as an off-the-books assistant for Shangela back in 2018, and they were friends until they stopped communicating in 2022. Joel said he had a sexual relationship with Shangela while also working as her assistant, and he was unhoused at the time, so he didn't really have any options. Joel claims he witnessed Shangela drink with, quote, "young skinny men," and Shangela would tell Joel how attractive the men were, and they would also go to Shangela's hotel room or hang out in the hot tub. Joel claims that Shangela liked to drink and, quote, "the name of the game was how many people could he get drunk, how many people could he get to come to the after party in his hotel room, and then they'd still be drinking there." Shangela's lawyer said Joel was not credible and just wanted attention. They claimed that Joel and Shangela had a relationship, although Joel denies this because he said they never actually discussed a relationship. Shangela's lawyer also said that Joel did not work for Shangela after 2018, and that Joel had previously lied about his work, and that the two of them had dated back in 2018. The lawyer also claimed that after the two of them parted ways, Joel would send Shangela unsolicited, provocative and flirtatious messages and photos, even as recently as 2022, and that, quote, "Joel's after-the-fact attempt to paint Mr. Pierce," which is Shangela, as a predator is entirely inconsistent with his private communications with Mr. Pierce. And so that was all of the allegations from the Rolling Stone article from 2024. However, very recently in February 2025, a new lawsuit was filed against Shangela by another accuser, which has been widely reported on in the media, which I'll talk about now. According to Entertainment Weekly, they obtained court documents on Monday the 24th of February, which were filed by Dakota Payne, who is a gay adult film star, and he also appeared as a contestant on the reality TV show Vanjie 24 Hours of Love. However, the court documents used Dakota's real name, which is Eric Poff. Eric had previously posted his allegations in a video on his Instagram back in September 2024. His Instagram is now private. However, when I made my first video on Shangela months ago, I took screenshots while his Instagram was still public. However, a copy of the video was uploaded to the RPDR drama subreddit at the time, which is where I was able to watch it, and I'll link to that in the description. In the video, Eric stated that in the past he had had a previous incident with Shangela, and then recently he had seen her in a restaurant and went up to her and said, quote, "I know what you did," and that he believes the other men that came forward in the Rolling Stone article. And apparently Shangela responded to him by saying, quote, "I'm sorry you feel that way." Eric then explained that back in 2017, he was working as a PA on the set of the movie Hurricane Bianca 2. He had gone out with the cast and crew several times, and he was very excited to be around these popular drag queens. Eric described that after wrapping the movie, he and Shangela went out one-on-one, and this isolated incident occurred then. He said that they had been drinking, and then later he came to in a hotel room, and Shangela and another unidentified man were having sex with him, and afterwards Eric was made to feel like he wanted it. Eric apparently said to the two of them, quote, "Well, that felt a lot like work. Basically, if you're going to treat me like a whore, pay me like a whore." Eric said he swept this incident under the rug and compartmentalized it, but it wasn't until the Rolling Stone article came out that he realized that so many other people had made SA allegations against Shangela, and their stories were so similar to Eric's. And after Eric posted this video, several drag queens such as Bianca Del Rio, Crystal and Honey Davenport commented on the post with messages of support. Shangela's co-star in We're Here, Bob the Drag Queen, even talked about Shangela's accusations around the same time on an episode of her podcast with Monet Exchange. Bob said the reason she hadn't said anything up until then was because she just didn't know what was going on. But she said that it was, quote, "incredibly damning that 6 people have now come forward with allegations against Shangela." And as I said, this video of Eric's came out in September/October 2024. But going back to the recent lawsuit, as reported on by Entertainment Weekly, Eric has now filed an official lawsuit which, quote, "demands a jury trial and compensatory damage." The lawsuit alleges that during the filming of Hurricane Bianca in October 2017, Eric was in a bar and believes he had his drink spiked because he has no memory of what happened. He said he woke up on a hotel bed and was fading in and out of consciousness. He alleges that an unidentified man was trying to force himself upon him without consent, and Shangela was watching, and then later Shangela did the same. And Eric claims that he was not able to give consent because of his semi-conscious state. After the alleged assault, Shangela apparently sent Eric money via PayPal. According to Entertainment Weekly, as well as the SA allegation, quote, "the complaint alleges that the act violated New York's Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Law, which was passed in 2000 and amended in 2022 to include an extension of the statute of limitations." When Eric's lawsuit was made public very recently, multiple news outlets picked up on it, and Shangela responded via a series of Instagram posts. In one Instagram story, Shangela said, "Hi y'all, I started off my week super grateful for life, texted with my mom, repacked my drag bag, and just been minding my own little gay business. Then here comes some BS. Being falsely accused in the most heinous ways is very difficult to endure. I'm advised to stay silent, and I'm doing my best to continue on without engaging in a back and forth with dishonest people seeking money or a moment. It's not worth it, I tell myself. Even though none of these fake claims have ever prevailed against me, my career, my character, and even my family have suffered. I appreciate all y'all who see through this type of mess and have even checked on me during dark times. Honestly, my heart thanks you." Shangela continued in a second Instagram story which said, "Growing up in a small town, my dream was always to entertain people and hopefully make a positive impact on the world. I worked non-stop publicly and privately to achieve this. I never imagined, though, that fulfilling my dream would also come with shocking betrayals and slanderous attacks. It seems like the farther you go, the more some people want to see you fail. But I won't give up. I hope none of you ever have to go through this. It hurts. Their goal is to characterize a successful black gay drag queen as a threat. But my goal is never to let evil win. I will continue to fight back with the truth, and with time, I know the truth will prevail. Still grateful for life and sending love always. XO Shanji. Shangela also posted this as a grid post on Instagram.
Ethan used a piece of the faulty testimony from that documentary in his content puke. Think about that.
This was one of Gaza's main fertility clinics, but 2 years ago it was struck in an Israeli attack. 4,000 embryos along with 1,000 sperm samples and unfertilized eggs were destroyed. One of several examples of what the UN calls Israel's systematic destruction of sexual and reproductive health care in Gaza, which has also targeted maternity hospitals. Experts say this could point to a strategy aimed at preventing birth.
That's literally what it was. Yeah. 49-page report came out detailing the harrowing nature of sexual violence that Israel has systematically deployed towards Palestinian civilians. 49 pages. No real evidence, no hard evidence has come out about sexual violence happening on October 7, let alone being directed by Hamas with mass occurring. How much has mainstream media talked about that? How much? For months and months and months on end. Now there's real hardline evidence from an independent probe from the United Nations Office of Humanitarian Rights from the Palestinian territories, occupied Palestinian territories, and there is very little coverage on this. I haven't heard a single goddamn person who is a liberal Zionist or a Zionist or even just like a liberal who claims to care about Palestine. I haven't heard them speak on this at all. And also, while mainstream media actively was like screams without words, this is like mass rape occurred. Hamas did mass rape over and over and over again, including the mass atrocity propaganda that Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook put together, where she literally interviewed Zakah workers who unironically were more responsible for justice never being served for victims of October 7 because they up the bodies in an effort to try to promote their own goddamn corrupt ass charity. And Sheryl Sandberg interviewed Zakat officials who literally lied to her. And that documentary still gets play to this day. Ethan used a piece of the faulty testimony from that documentary in his content puke. Think about that. Ethan literally used a piece of that Sheryl Sandberg documentary in air quotes, as a testament, as proof that there definitely taken place, mass had taken place, directed by Hamas. Now it's come out that Sheryl Sandberg is actually a sexual predator herself, as the other side. Anyway, now you have hardline evidence. Okay? Hardline evidence, 49 pages worth, independent probe. And the way they cover it is UN reports accuses Israel of sexual violence, genocidal acts in Gaza. Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, quickly condemned the report's findings as baseless. UN report accuses Israel of sexual violence against Palestinians. Netanyahu claims anti-Israel bias. UN report accuses Israel forces of genocidal acts, sexual violence in Gaza and the West Bank. Yeah. When Israel claims something, it's 100% correct. It's definitely correct. If you actually question it, you are Hamas, you are a rapist yourself, you're a nihilist, all this shit. When Israel is probed by an independent commission, by the United Nations, and there's 49 pages worth of real evidence, nothing. Ethan also cited the UN report from UN Victims Advocacy Group claiming that the UN confirmed the mass rape hoax. The report didn't. Zakah was involved in steering that report. I know. The UN report only featured one instance of firsthand testimony of sexual violence occurring to a victim, and it didn't happen on October 7. It happened to one of the hostages. That was it. The UN report itself never actually said, we have found a complete assessment going through forensics data of all of the victims or the, that taking place on October 7, mass rape taking place on October 7, Hamas-led mass rape had taken place on October 7. Those are 3 separate claims. And the UN report that I read on the stream that none of my interlocutors who keep saying I'm a denier or whatever have ever read, because they don't know how to read, they're not literate, or really care about it, because why should you? You can just lie about something, and as long as it goes along with like mainstream narratives, then people won't check you on it. Okay, you're a joke, dude. Don't ban that person. I want to know what he means by this. Like, I want to understand like why he's so upset about this. What did the documentary maker do? She's a predator? Yes, Sheryl Sandberg, who made that the atrocity propaganda flick with very little, with no like hardline evidence. Hi Hassan, I wasn't familiar with you until recently. I watched your debate with Asman, and you as a white guy from Alabama, you brought a lot of points I'd never considered and actually changed my mind a lot. Wait, why'd you get timed out? What the Oh, you wrote something too. Oh, maybe because you wrote Asman Gold, and Asman's name is auto-modded probably. All right, you're untimed out now. Yeah. In order for us to not get sucked into drama, because I always have a capacity to eat debate, I usually will just set up an auto mod. I don't know how you do it, man. All this evidence that proves you right over and over again. There's a sizable population of people who are just unreachable. It's mind-blowing to me. Yeah, it is what it is. There's not really much you can do. You just got to keep saying the truth. And eventually, people will come to their own conclusions, okay? Eventually. But yeah, this is the summarization of it. More than a human can bear, Israel's systematic use of sexual, reproductive, and other forms of gender-based violence since October 2023. This is actually systematic, by the way. Not a claim of systematic violence. But there's sufficient evidence in here to showcase both the moral depravity of the Israeli occupying forces, but also how much they've utilized sexual violence as a vehicle of war. Okay? I hope you understand that. There is nowhere near this level of evidence from any report on October 7 from an independent party or even Israelis themselves. There isn't. And I say this as someone who does not offhandedly discount the notion that sexual assault might have taken place on October 7. I've maintained the position that sexual violence in all conflict is commonplace, and therefore the likelihood of sexual violence occurring on October 7 is not zero. Okay? I've never said it is. Having said that, however, there is no evidence as to sexual violence actually taking place on October 7. There has been no evidence whatsoever. The Israeli government has denied independent probes into the United Nations trying to actually go in and do forensic analysis. The most famous cases of secondhand and third-hand testimony was all discounted instantly. All of them. Haaretz has written detailed reports on this. It's like literally... it's literally out there if you want to read on this issue at all. Like, Israeli media has written about it. As recently as a couple months prior, the main prosecutor that's supposed to be looking at like October 7 violence cases, straight up came out and said, we cannot find a single person to come out and say that they've been raped. They're like, we're looking, we want to prosecute these things, but there is no evidence. There's no hard evidence whatsoever. Yeah, Israel itself blocked the investigations immediately after October 7 and blocked the investigations numerous times, by the way. That is the highest degree of disrespect to the victims, mind you. Like, there is nothing more disrespectful than to look at a pile of bodies and be like, we're just going to use this for atrocity propaganda. We don't care about the humanity of these bodies. We don't care about the humanity of these citizens. And we don't care about what their families might want in terms of justice. Like, that is disgusting to me. That is completely morally repugnant behavior. It is utterly depraved. Oh, yeah. Despite several requests, Israel provided no evidence or access to investigate October 7 violations, including sexual violence allegations. Key details. The Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory in Israel said it made several requests for information and access from government of Israel from October 7 through January 15, 2025, but it received no responses. The commission also did not receive from Israel any further information on violations and abuses committed by the military wing of Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups. The commission further notes that no information about prosecutions of members of Hamas and other armed groups for the crimes committed on October 7th has been shared. I don't know. I think the people who killed them are worse. That's actually a great point. You're not wrong about this. You're not wrong. Of course, if you have been murdered, then yeah, your murderer is the primary responsible party. But don't you think your government is supposed to protect you and actually figure out who murdered you, how they murdered you, especially in the case of Israel openly admitting to utilizing the Hannibal Directive? The Hannibal Directive is an Israeli military doctrine that dictates that if Israeli citizens, whether they are members of the IDF or just regular civilians, are captured by any sort of Palestinian militancy, it is military doctrine to kill them, because in the hands of the Palestinians, they are a bargaining chip that Israel does not want to deal with. So they just literally kill the hostages. That is their military doctrine. And it's not just their military doctrine that people speculated was being applied on October 7. Yoav Gallant, the former defense minister of Israel, a war criminal, came out and openly admitted to the utilization of the Hannibal Directive on October 7. There was already plenty of evidence in the aftermath of October 7 that the Israeli tanks actually shelled some of the kibbutzim and caused some of the explosions and the deaths of Israeli civilians that were inside of the kibbutzim. According to firsthand eyewitness testimony from someone who survived the attacks, first by Palestinian militancy and then by the Israeli occupying forces. But having said that, now it is completely official. We don't know what the exact number was in terms of the 1,200, 400 being, what was it? 400 being soldiers, and then 800 being civilians. We don't know exactly what number of the civilians that were killed by the Israeli military, whether it be helicopters that were just spraying all of the cars that were trying to escape the Nova Festival, or whether it be the tanks rolling up to the kibbutzim and blowing them up. But I think you and I would both agree that, you know, it is up to the government to honestly make an assessment over who killed who on October 7, specifically so that there can be some kind of restitution, some kind of justice for the victims that were killed on October 7. And I'm not saying that because I believe that like Hamas didn't kill any of the civilians. It was just the military. I don't believe that at all. I don't think that that is the case. I don't believe that that is the case at all. But I think it is important to investigate these issues specifically so you can specifically so that the victims can finally have some answers. The family members of victims can finally have some answers. So yes, you're not wrong. I think the people who killed them are worse, but the question remains, who killed them and how they were killed? Was sexual violence a thing that occurred? This is important for the families to learn about as well. And that's precisely the reason why many of the victims from October 7 and their family members have sued the Israeli government time and time again. There are victims from the Nova Festival, survivors from the Nova Festival, for example, that have sued the Israeli government because they thought it was saying that the Israeli government, knowing full well ahead of time that there was militancy activity happening at the barrier in the Gaza envelope, still chose to continue the Nova Festival a third day. Anyway, so you didn't answer any of my questions here, but I hope I was able to inform you on what my perspective is. It's also funny because like people that come in here and just go, you're a terrorist, I'm sorry, this is one of the issues where I have a lot more knowledge than the average person, okay? I normally wouldn't say this with a high degree of confidence, but you don't want this smoke. There's a reason why none of your favorite content creators want to talk to me about this and that is because they are oblivious, and it's much easier for them to consistently tell their audiences that I'm a bad guy and an Islamist fundamentalist and a terrorist and want to undermine Western civilization or something. Okay, much easier to do that from the shadows than to actually come in here and have a direct conversation with me, because it would be people would very quickly understand who knows what in that situation. It's much easier to hide behind clips that are cut out of context. You're like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a terrorist. Anyway,
Hostile
Let's
RCXD
continue.
in your AO.
Births within a specific group, one of the legal definitions of genocide.
Our report finds that Israel has increasingly employed sexual, reproductive, and other forms of gender-based violence against Palestinians as part of a broader effort to undermine their right to self-determination.
The Commission documented a range of violations against Palestinian women, men, girls, and boys, and it alleges that Israeli security forces have carried out systematic rape and other forms of gender-based violence, including forced public stripping, sexual assaults, and genital violence. According to the UN, these acts were committed under explicit orders from Israel's top military leadership.
That sexual and gender-based violence is increasingly used as a method of war by Israel to destabilize, dominate, oppress, and destroy.
Once again, projection, by the way. Good one, dude. Projection. When Israel's like, Hamas actually had a military directive to rape all the Israeli women or whatever, that's just projection. I have court evidence from the SSA trial that just went into the public. Is there any way I can send it to you so you can read it? They're trying to sue this to keep the information private. I don't know what you're talking about. They accuse you of denying sexual assault when systematic sexual assault is a different accusation with a correspondingly high standard of evidence. It is not some random acts of war crimes that happen in every conflict. Yes, but the standard for evidence for sexual assaults is also high. And they haven't even reached that standard either. Like, if your top accusers, like if the only thing that we have here is like eyewitness testimony that immediately gets discounted, immediately gets debunked, then how the can you say it happened? Everything is just, even the UN report that we read quite literally just rehashed. The initial UN report that came out simply just rehashed what the Israeli government was saying. And they openly admitted it. They said, we found only circumstantial at best evidence for sexual assaults happening by looking at the photos that were handed to us by the Israeli government. There's only one claim. There was only one claim, and it wasn't from October 7. It was from a captive that actually was a first-hand account of a sexual assault taking place while one of the Israelis was held hostage. That's it. That was the only one by UN's own definition actually reached the standard of hard evidence. It's very strange to keep litigating this over and over again. There is no reason for me to deny that if rapes definitely happen, there's no reason for me to deny. Why the would I deny it? I've made my position known. People have actually used that position against me by, again, flipping me out of context where I said, even if sexual violence did take place on October 7th, that doesn't justify genocide. I think that's a pretty normal position to have. That is my position. Nothing justifies a genocide. I'll take it one step further. I don't think that a genocide against all Israelis is justifiable because of this report that just came out, okay? That is my real position. That is my moral position. This report that documented 49 pages of Israel engaging in the act of systematic sexual violence against Palestinians, both held captive and across the board in Gaza and in the West Bank, does not justify genociding Israel. It doesn't. Nothing justifies it. Nothing. Like, they aren't assaulting Palestinians sexually? Wait, what? No, they are. They are. We know that they are. There is no such thing as defensive genocide, okay? There's no such thing. That is just like the Israeli position right now, but that's not a real thing. Let's continue.
For the Palestinian people.
Yeah, there's also the Israeli, as far as the Israelis raping Palestinians to death, it's on camera, Chad. They literally did it on CCTV. So there's a dead person who died after being anally raped by the Israeli concentration camp guards. So we know that that actually happened. There's a victim, there's an autopsy report, and they did it on camera. And when the government tried to prosecute them because they were worried that the ICC was going to come after them for that as well, in an effort to use complementarity as a shield, they tried to prosecute the soldiers, and then Israel did a pro-rape riot. Israel did a pro-rape riot where they successfully got the rapist concentration guards camps out of jail. They released them. And then the Israeli government turned around and became an incredibly famous television figure in Israel. He unmasked himself voluntarily and said, I was the top rapist, and he became a beloved television personality. Think about how insane that is. Think about the moral rot in a society such as that one. This is precisely the reason why I say Israel is a Nazi society. That is just the truth. And I don't know how you engage in the act of rehabilitation, but I can't even think of that at this point. Yeah, Israeli protesters held a rally for the right to rape prisoners. The Israeli Knesset held an emergency meeting. And in the Israeli Knesset, where they held an emergency meeting, a member of Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party came out and said, of course, the concentration camp guards have a right to rape Palestinians. Like, they actively had this fight on camera. Now, just because you didn't hear about this doesn't mean it didn't happen. It is on you to, at the very least, not come in here with some kind of energy without any of this information in your mind. Just because your favorite content creator didn't see it does not mean that it didn't happen. They did this live on television. I covered it at the time. Perhaps I know more than you on this issue, and that's why I'm so angry. Perhaps my anger and resentment does not stem from some sort of secret anti-Semitism in the way that all these claim. Okay? That's it. I hate addressing this over and over again every single day, but like, the dumbest person you've ever encountered will just come out and make a YouTube video basically rehashing like Reddit posts that they've seen with like 12-second clips, and then it becomes my problem. And because I want to constantly educate people who are misguided, I have to sit there and over and over again repeat my points over and over again to people who don't even care about it. Anyway, here it is. Sheryl Sandberg, former Facebook COO who directed the documentary Screams Before Silence, alleging mass sexual violence by Hamas on October 7th without presenting credible evidence or identifying survivors, is now facing accusations of sexual misconduct herself. In a memoir by Sarah Wynne Williams, Sandberg is alleged to have spent $13,000 on lingerie for herself and her assistant during a work trip and engaged in intimate behavior, such as inviting the assistant to come to bed on a private jet. I know a crusty leftist who did the same thing to you recently. Streamer clearly didn't do his research. They're not a competent person. If they hear what I have to say about, especially on this issue, if they hear what I have to say and they're like, well, I disagree with it, then I don't know how much of a real leftist they are, you know?
Domination.
Anyway, there was a Haaretz report on Israel using Palestinians as human shields. That's another thing.
Documented a pattern of sexual violence.
Israel also admitted that as well. Something, dude. That's why I always say, like, if you want to know what the Israel's up to, if you want to be woke, if you want to actually be aware of like what is exactly happening, you can wait for the New York Times to write about it 6 months in the future, or you can be in here right now and learn about it in real time. And there's not always an assurance that the New York Times is going to write about it 6 years or 6 months in the future anyway.
Including cases of rape and other forms of sexual violence, torture and other inhumane acts that amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu lashed out at the Human Rights Council. In a written statement, he calls it a rotten, anti-Semitic, terrorist-supported and
Get the out of here, you piece of shit. You want to know what Israel's up to? Simply follow their media. I mean, that's what I do. Yes. I'll tell you another thing. I wonder if any of these liberal Zionists or any of these people who are supposedly progressive or masquerade as progressives, did they talk about Mahmoud Khalil? Did they talk about his arrest? Did they talk about his deportation, his possible deportation? The reason why I ask that question is because if they do talk about that, they will perhaps realize that the same slander and same smears that they've used, that the American government has weaponized against him, they most likely have weaponized against me as well, with the hopes that a similar thing might happen to me down the line too. So if they actually have to come out and be like, well, this is a severe violation of the First Amendment, it's going to come across like kind of hypocritical, don't you think?
relevant body. This UN report is the first in-depth investigation into gender-based violence by Israeli forces since Hamas' October 7th attack, which triggered the war in Gaza.
Losing A. Securing Zone A.
Here we go.
We're losing Alpha.
Who wants to look at a thread on the Vorsh subreddit? It's going to be epic. I think this is an excellent example of a few things. One is how people who don't know anything like see an idea for the first time and immediately have like a visceral gut reaction to it without actually looking into it at all. And they just assume that they're correct. Another is the weaponization of anti-Semitism allegations, where people who themselves are engaging in incredibly anti-Semitic practices, like, for example, equating Israeli with Jew, accuse others of anti-Semitism because they change the word Israeli to Jew. They do it themselves, and it's like, wow. If you try and make it out like they're referring to all Jews, it sure sounds different, doesn't it? Another thing is how completely insane, like, streamer fans are. Like, streamer friends will abandon any position that they hold, any principle that they hold, if they, and streamers themselves do this too, if they think that they can use it against another streamer or another internet personality who that streamer dislikes. Vorsh's community calling people anti-Semitic for denouncing Israel, when Vorsh called for Israel to be nuked off the face of the earth because of the problems that it causes for the region and for Palestinians. For one, I'll tell you here, none of those things are anti-Semitic. Vorsh was just being emotional. Rightfully emotional. Everyone should be that emotional for Palestine. But it just goes to show, like what he did was infinitely worse than anything I've ever said about Israel. But it's not, his own community doesn't consider it to be anti-Semitic. His own community doesn't do the thing when you replace the word Israel with Jew like they do for me. So anyway, let's take a look at this thread. Bad Empanada calls a Jew who doesn't live in Israel a Nazi because she spoke Hebrew. He then doubles down. All right, let's read the tweets. The first thing in this chain, and I promise you there's more to this than just me complaining about Twitter drama, because this is an example of wider things regarding weaponized anti-Semitism, and we're also going to talk about the construction of the Hebrew language later on. This person said to me, basically, I wouldn't be laughing about Westerners as an Australian. So using Australian as an insult. Australian, a settler colonial citizenship / nationality, okay? I replied, oh my God, are you Israeli? Holy shit, actual Lebensraum colonist. Absolutely. So this is two proportional insults. One, calling someone Australian negatively. Settler colonial nationality, and that's fine, you're an Australian. Nothing wrong with that. Australian, that's a good insult, actually. Calling people Australian is a fantastic insult. And then I replied to them, basically of the exact same thing. A settler colonial nationality, you are an Israeli. There you go, those are proportional insults. Someone insults me, firstly, based off my settler colonial citizenship, I insult them proportionally based off their settler colonial citizenship. The only way that you can think that this is bad is if you think that Israel is some sort of magical, special nationality that is different to others. That in of itself is pretty anti-Semitic. You know, I consider Israelis to be no different than, like, well, they're in a more, like, in-your-face stage of settler colonialism, so it is more notable, but, you know, Israelis aren't like any different to like United States Americans, Australians, Canadians, you know, other settler colonial nationalities. It's just settler colonial states. The only difference is that Israel, rather than claiming to be a white ethno state, claims to be a Jewish ethno state. So proportionately, these are the exact same thing. You can't argue this point. There's no way to argue against this, against like calling someone an Israeli as an insult, a bad thing, like an especially bad thing compared to calling them an Australian as an insult, unless you think that Israel is a special nationality, and it's not. Next thing, like the person who insulted me for being Australian says to me, do you have literally any proof that either of us support Israel? Well, do you have any proof that I support Australia? No, obviously. I denounce Australian settler colonialism all the time. So, again, you can be Australian even if you don't support the Australian settler colonial project. It's pretty simple. It's a citizenship, right? You can be Israeli in the same way even if you don't support Israel. To call someone an Israeli is not anti-Semitic. It's not any. Is it anti-Australian for them to call me Australian based on my citizenship? Obviously not. That's a ludicrous notion. So this person doesn't need proof that I support Australia to call me an Australian as an insult, right? So I don't need proof to call them of them supporting Israel to call them Israeli as an insult. Pretty simple. And then their response is, neither of us live in Israel. Okay, I don't live in Australia. Big fucking deal. This person and me, we are in the exact same situation. I don't live in Australia, yet they called me an Australian as an insult. I mean, that's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. I left Australia. I'm still an Australian in my citizenship, right? This person is an Israeli, who left Israel. They're still an Israeli. Literally the exact same thing as me. We both come from settler colonial states. We're citizens of settler colonial states. Somehow it's magically anti-Semitic for me to insult them in the exact same terms that they're insulting me. It literally makes no sense whatsoever. Like, the only way that you can think that these insults are proportionally different is if you are anti-Semitic, if you associate the very notion of being Jewish with Israel. Now, I don't, okay? I don't equate Israeli with Jew. You might. In that case, I think you might want to look into your own anti-Semitism there, my friend. And like, why is this bad? I called them a Nazi, and so what? Israel is absolutely a Nazi-like settler colonial state. Nazism was a project of settler colonialism based on the concept of Lebensraum, meaning living space, meaning the expulsion of the native population of territory that they planned to and did conquer in order to implant German settlers. That's literally Israel. It's also literally the USA, it's literally Australia, etc. These countries are countries of Lebensraum colonists. If that offends you, I'm sorry that you're offended at the truth. It's still not even remotely anti-Semitic. It might be anti-Semitic if someone was like, no, only Israel is a settler colony. You know, you can't say to someone who denounces settler colonialism constantly, who calls himself a settler even, who just literally said that Australia is also a Lebensraum settler colony, you can't say to that person that they're anti-Semitic applying the same terms to Israel, which is the exact same sort of country. Like, they think they don't need to provide any evidence, any argument for their opinion. Bad empanada calling to Jewish people, this is where it changes, right? You change the word Israeli to Jewish. You change Israeli to Jewish, and suddenly, denouncing settler colonialism is anti-Semitic. This is how this shit works. Now let's dissect this, okay? Bad empanada calling to Jewish people. The word Jewish was never mentioned, only Israeli. Speaking Hebrew, modern Hebrew. Modern Hebrew is not the same thing as liturgical biblical Hebrew. Israeli colonialists, yeah, they are literally Israelis. If I am an Australian colonist, they are Israeli colonists. I don't live in Australia anymore. They don't live in Israel anymore. So what? Let's be consistent here. Now let me explain this, because these people loved, you know, the way that the Zionists work is they change words around, they change what was said, and they deny history constantly. If you see someone speaking conversational Hebrew, the chance that they are Israeli is more than 95%, because 95% of Hebrew speakers live in Israel. Hebrew is a language that was specifically constructed, modern Hebrew, specifically constructed for the Israeli Nationalist Project. That's a fact. Even aside from that, you know, constructing a language is not a bad thing in of itself. The bad thing, and speaking a language also isn't bad in of itself. The only reason why I brought that up is because it's 100% reasonable to think that someone who speaks modern Hebrew conversationally, as this person was, is if they're Israeli. There's nothing wrong with that. 95% of people who speak Japanese are Japanese. If you saw someone speaking Japanese, is it racist to assume that they are Japanese? Of course not. No. If you see someone speaking Japanese on Twitter, you can assume that they're Japanese, and that's not racist. Of course. You see me typing in Twitter in Argentine Spanish, you can assume that I'm Argentine. There's nothing, literally nothing about that is racist. How is it anti-Semitic to assume that someone speaking modern Hebrew conversationally, something that most Jews outside of Israel do not do? How in the fuck is that racist? You know, like, where is the distinction here? Someone tell me. Is it because modern Hebrew is religious? They say that, by the way. Let's look at the... Wait, what other tweets are there? Yeah, Hebrew is a constructed language specifically created for Israel. We're going to get into exactly how that is. Don't worry, I have many academic sources explaining this. All Israelis are settler colonists currently doing 19th century style settler colonial genocide. Yeah, they are. How can you possibly refute this? They literally are. They are in the 19th century stage of settler colonialism. They have yet to completely dominate their indigenous population. They've yet to completely get rid of them, to replace them completely. They're still there. They're still trying to do that. They're in the process of the stage of settler colonialism that the USA, Australia, etc. were in the 19th century. That is a fact. If Israel is a settler colonial state, that means that Israelis are settler colonists. It's so simple. You can't have settler colonialism without colonists. What the fuck are they talking about? This is a factual statement. What, you said all Israelis are colonists? Yes, I did. They literally are. All white Americans are colonists too. All white Australians are colonists. I am a colonist. The second that you stop taking statements of material facts, statements of how your state works, statements about you as moral attacks rather than simple facts about you, undeniable facts about you. You know, proletariat is an insult, bourgeois isn't an insult either, though it should be. These are simple material observations of your standing in relation to the society that you live in. Like the idea that it's anti-Semitic to say that Israelis are settler colonists doing 19th century style colonial genocide is absolutely insane. The idea that it's anti-Semitic to compare them factually, materially doing something that is incredibly analogous to the Nazi Lebensraum project of settler colonial replacement of indigenous populations. The idea that that is anti-Semitic is absurd. Israelis who claim to be the representatives of Jews do not get a special pass to do the same things that were done to them previously because of the Holocaust. If anything, they should know better than anyone else. The idea that you can't compare them to the Nazis, even when they are materially doing something that is incredibly similar to Nazism, using rhetoric that is incredibly similar to Nazism. You can't compare them because of the Holocaust is completely fucking ludicrous and absurd. Especially because these people like to say, for example, that indigenous people want to do genocide against white people. How is that okay? If my comparison here isn't okay, how is you saying that indigenous people are going to do what was done to them to white people not okay? You're making the exact same comparison, by the way, infinitely less valid because that's not even happening and no one wants that to happen, but Israel is actually doing it. Israel is doing the same thing that was done to many refugees from the Holocaust who fled to Israel. They're doing it to Palestinians. They're not literally industrially murdering Palestinians, sure, but they are trying to replace them with settlers of the correct ethnicity, just as the Nazis wanted to do, and as they did actually do. So there's no possible rebuttal here. I'm sorry, you can't argue with this. Last one. Calling a Jew an Israeli for speaking Hebrew is anti-Semitic. If you see someone, again, this is the same exact thing. If you see someone speaking modern Hebrew conversationally in everyday conversation, there is a 95% chance they are Israeli. Okay? Literally nothing wrong with that. Before we get into the history of Hebrew, let's look at the comments. I'm sure there's some fun ones. All Israelis are blood and soil, Nazi settlers, bad empanada. What a dumb fuck anti-Semite. I would love this person to hop on stream and try to explain that to me. Try to explain how comparing a project of settler colonialism to another project of settler colonialism makes you anti-Semitic. I would love them to try to explain that. The only way that this idea that calling Israel's blood and soil Nazi settlers is anti-Semitic works is if you equate Israeli with Jew. So ironically, this person here is clearly doing that and is clearly an anti-Semite himself. This is no different to saying like, oh, you said Americans are settler colonists? You said Americans are blood and soil Nazi settlers? What a dumb fuck anti-white racist. Does that make sense to you? Obviously not. This is the thing with these anti-Semitism allegations. The anti-Semitism allegations only work if you consider Israel as some sort of special category of state that needs to be treated with like kids' gloves. And that alone is an anti-Semitic notion. There's nothing special about Israel. Israel is another bog-standard European-style settler colonial state. The anti-Semites are the one who try to treat it in a special way and to take things that are not anti-white or anti-Australian, anti-American, anti-Japanese or whatever, when applied to those countries, and claim that they are anti-Semitic only when you apply those exact same standards to Israel. That is anti-Semitism. Like, literally none of these people have they cannot explain how this is anti-Semitism. I would love for any of them to come on the stream, look at these tweets and try to explain. They just express offense at being called settler colonists. Look, this is what they do. This one says in all caps, oh, he's saying all Jews are Nazis. Excuse me, where was that said? This is so revealing about how they operate, both in how they're willing to completely change language. They change Israeli to Jew, for one. And it clearly shows that they equate Israel with Jew. That is incredibly fucking anti-Semitic. You look at this and you cannot deny the anti-Semitism. Open anti-Semite calls Jews Nazis. You see, you look at the Israeli state, what it's actually doing, what the Israelis themselves, who are complicit in this, obviously, just as Germans were complicit in Nazism, you look at what they're doing, you point out the similarities. We change the word Israeli to Jew. This is how this works. These are the exact same tactics that were used against Jeremy Corbyn in the UK, by the way. Oh no, denazification is wrong. But I'd like to hear them to explain this one to you. Why is it wrong to re-educate Nazis after World War II to make sure that they don't want to genocide Jews or Eastern Europeans or anyone anymore? If that wasn't wrong, And honestly, it not only wasn't wrong, but it wasn't done enough. Why would it be wrong to do the exact same to Israelis who hold those exact same sorts of views about Palestinians? I would love for you to explain it to me. Why is one form of racist, ethno-nationalist fascist somehow less bad than the other? Please tell me. These people are like, this is the type of person that makes the struggle of Palestinians look silly. Because of people like him, people who criticize Israel are called anti-Semites. People who criticize Israel are called anti-Semites because they've been called anti-Semites since the very fucking beginning. It's a strategy of Israel itself to invert who is the oppressor and who is the oppressed. Do you think that Palestinians don't call Israeli settler colonists? Do you think Palestinians don't think that all of Palestine is occupied, that every inch of Israel is Palestine? They do. How dare you try to say that me advocating for Palestine in terms that Palestinians use is wrong? That just shows that you stand with the oppressed and not the oppressor and not with the oppressed, okay? Let's look at what Palestinians think about Palestine, okay? Poll from the Washington Institute. Two-state solution. 26% of Palestinians in the West Bank and 36% in Gaza are open to a two-state solution as a compromise. However, 60% in both the West Bank and Gaza want one state, either binational or all being Palestine, from the river to the sea. Now, I don't know about you, but personally, I'm on the side of the oppressed, who are the Palestinians. I'll go along with whatever they want, with whatever they feel like is a goal that they are willing to sacrifice for. I'll go along with that. Palestinians do think that all of Israel is occupied by Israeli settlers, Israeli settler colonists. They denounce Israel in these terms. And if you don't denounce them in these same terms, you, my man, are an anti-Palestinianist. It is completely insane to be like, this person is a bad advocate for Palestinians. You make their struggle look silly when between us, you are so fucking far from the Palestinian struggle, from what they're aiming for what they're willing to sacrifice for. You do that cause a fucking disservice. All that I do is follow. I'm not leading. I do what they tell me. I advocate for what they want. What is this? This argument, this language has been modernized recently and therefore you're a Nazi is shallow. No, you're not a Nazi for speaking Hebrew. You are, however, if you are an Israeli, and you are analogous to a Nazi settler in Poland. That is true, 100% true. I mean, if you don't want to deal with the truth, then you could always stop colonizing the Lebensraum that was stolen from Palestinian indigenous people by you, the settler colonist population. It's that simple. Like, they don't seem to understand why I was mentioning Hebrew in the first place, because the way that I knew that person was an Israeli, and they weren't Israeli, by the way. They admitted they were an Israeli, just one who doesn't live in Israel anymore. So what? I don't live in Australia anymore, and they called me an Australian. The only reason I brought it up is because it was evidence, clear evidence that they were Israeli, and I was right, because 95% of the people who speak modern Hebrew are Israelis. It's very simple. But if you want to talk about the history of modern Hebrew, you know, why is modern Hebrew so spoken, so concentrated in Israel? It's not just because Israel is a majority Jewish country. It's because it was a language specifically crafted for Israel. So let me go over the history here. There were two Hebrew revivalist movements in Palestine. One was the historical Jewish community had the Ottoman Empire forced them to speak Hebrew because it didn't accept any other Jewish language as a national language, and to be a recognized nationality, you had to have a language. So religious Jews started speaking Hebrew among themselves. Before this, they had never spoken it before, when the Ottoman officials were around. And most of this is sourced from a great paper by a linguistic historian. I can't show it on the screen because it's iffy to show like a paper on Twitch without just showing extracts from it if you wouldn't edit a video essay. I don't think you're allowed to do it copyright-wise. But this is from a paper called Language and Nationalism, Modern Hebrew and the Zionist Project by Yaakov Rabkin, who is an Israeli Jew. So first the Ottomans forced Hebrew, which wasn't a language at this time, it was still just a liturgical language, on the religious Jewish population in Palestine who were there before the Zionist movement came up, because that was how they defined nationality. If they wanted minority rights, if they wanted to be a recognized minority, they had to have a language. So they were like, okay, we'll speak modern Hebrew. It's like, for example, if a bunch of Vatican priests decide to speak Latin between themselves. It's the same sort of thing. After that, the Zionist movement was created in Europe, where European Jews came up with this idea of making Jews into a nationality. Before this, Jews were not really a nationality. You could say they were an ethnicity, but they weren't conceived of in terms of like the European idea of a nationality, which was like a people with a specific homeland, a specific language, and a united history that's all exactly the same. You know, there were Jews in many different places who had very different cultures. You know, North African Jews, for example, were incredibly different to Jews living in Eastern Europe or Germany or whatever. The only thing they really shared was their religion and this conception that others had of them, a bit like, you know, the sort of ethnic hatred, especially the Europeans had of Jews, that they didn't care about the differences between Jews. They saw them as one united race that they hated. The European Zionist idea was to unite Jews from everywhere into a Jewish state. At first, they didn't really know where this was going to be, and after a while, they settled on historic Palestine for its religious connotation. And one of these Zionists, named Eliezer ben Yehuda, he was an instigator of the idea that this modern Jewish state should speak Hebrew, which was a very difficult idea to implement because Hebrew was a dead language, completely dead. Now, when I say dead language, I mean it wasn't spoken natively. It hadn't been spoken natively for about 1,700 years by this point. It was spoken liturgically, as in, like, rabbis, you know, people would read it. People would read the holy books in Hebrew. They would write a limited amount of literature in Hebrew, but no one could speak Hebrew natively. It was a dead language, because when it comes to language linguistically, language is spoken, it's not written, right? So to say that a language is dead, it means that it doesn't have any native speakers. It means that it's no longer evolving naturally as languages do. That's why we can say, for example, English today is the same language as English from 1,000 years ago, even if we can't understand it, because it was part of an unbroken chain of linguistic, natural, spoken, natively spoken linguistic evolution. Modern Hebrew wasn't. Modern Hebrew was constructed by Ben Yehuda and other Hebrew revivalists in the same way that Esperanto was.
Communism
the only meaningful difference here between Esperanto and modern Hebrew is that there is this emotional nationalistic narrative surrounding Hebrew. So, you know, they're never going to admit that it was constructed in the same similar way. So for modern Hebrew, you know, they took written vocabulary from books that they didn't know how to pronounce properly. They didn't even know what a lot of these words meant. They combined it with a ton of other vocabulary, grammar, etc., from other languages like Yiddish, Arabic, etc. They combined it with phonology from those languages as well. And they essentially created a drastically different language, absolutely nothing like what Hebrew was when it was actually spoken in the ancient world, and pretended that it was the same language. And the reason why they did that, and by the way, it was the same thing with Esperanto. Esperanto took vocabulary from other languages, it took grammar from other languages, it took phonology from other languages, it combined it all together to form something new. Functionally, in the terms of how these languages were constructed, that was the same thing. If you want to call modern Hebrew a reconstructed language, good for you. But at the end of the day, we're talking about two things that are the same in terms of how they were made. They were the same. The only reason for the distinction is essentially an emotional nationalistic one, that modern Hebrew is special. So you can't just call it the same as Esperanto. But in terms of the process of how this was actually done, it was exactly the same. If today, like, you know, someone took the Latin language and was like, oh, this is going to be the language of our new Christian ethno-state or something, and they took a bunch of Latin script, Latin words, etc., Latin grammar, mixed it with like Italian and Spanish or something in order to form a functional everyday language, that wouldn't be Latin. It would be a new language. So that's why there's a lot of Israeli scholars, a very influential minority, like 20-30%. And the only reason they're a minority is because obviously this is a very politicized thing in Israel. You can't call modern Hebrew a constructed language there. It's a taboo because it's a legitimizing force for the Zionist project. One of them is Gilad Zuckerman, who comes from a school of Israeli scholars, which is quite large, of linguistic scholars and linguistic historians, who argue that Israeli Hebrew is so different from liturgical and biblical Hebrew that regardless of how much Israelis imagine that it's the same language, as much as they like to imagine that it's the same language for the purposes of legitimizing their settler colonial project, it's simply not. He thinks that it would be more accurately called Israeli. It's not anti-Semitic to acknowledge this. Like some people have said in response to me, oh, you're anti-Semitic because you're saying that it's illegitimate for the Jews to revive their language. No, I'm not. Language revival is a good thing overall. The way that modern Hebrew was constructed was very, technically it was very impressive, very well done. It took a lot of skill, a lot of effort from many different people to do it. The thing is, it took a lot of skill and a lot of effort to build a Tiger tank. What was the Tiger tank for? The reason why modern Hebrew was constructed was quite alike to that Tiger tank, to legitimize the settler colonial replacement of Palestinians from their own homeland. That is why it's bad. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad to speak it. You speak whatever language you're taught, right? That's why, this project of building this language was bad, because it was done to legitimize the settler colonial project of genocide, of stealing land from the native Palestinians and creating a Jewish ethno-state on their land. That's why it was bad. It was just a part of Zionist ethno-nationalism, and they knew that. Now, another part of this that is very interesting is that, so someone else in this thread said here, the reason why apparently calling out modern Hebrew, we're not even calling out, just noting, right? The reason why I brought up modern Hebrew was not to do with anything any sort of denouncement of using the language or anything. It was just as an explanation for how I knew that person was Israeli, and I was right. Obviously, assuming someone's nationality or their citizenship based off the language that they speak is perfectly fucking normal. Okay, there's nothing racist about it. No one would ever call that racist in any other situation. At best, you might be speaking to someone who speaks that language as a second language, right? And they might not actually be from that country. You still wouldn't be a racist. You still would have been making a completely valid assumption. Assuming someone's nationality based off the language that they speak is a completely normal, everyday thing. It's not a negative or a positive thing. It's just a neutral idea. This person here says, ancient Hebrew has been continuously used by religious Jews every day for prayers and study for thousands of years to this day. Yeah, it has. That doesn't matter though. Ancient Hebrew is not the same thing as modern Hebrew. Ancient Hebrew is not spoken on a day-to-day basis between human beings. Ancient Hebrew is limited to religious use. Okay? These are not the same things. Modern Hebrew is not the same thing as liturgical or biblical Hebrew. They're not the same language. And bringing this up is especially bad because the motivations, one of the motivations was ethno-nationalism, as I brought it up. But the Jews who resurrected Hebrew and invented modern Hebrew, they did it as a rejection of the Jewish religion. They did it because they wanted to secularize what was previously considered to be a holy language. It was very much a negation of religious Judaism. It was very much, honestly, it seems they kind of hated religious Jews. They were doing it because they knew that it would piss religious Jews off. And don't worry, I can back that up. So, remember the first Hebrew-speaking community in Palestine that I mentioned that was forced to speak Hebrew by the Ottoman authorities? The historian I mentioned earlier, Radkin, notes that they stopped speaking Hebrew once secular Zionists started arriving from Europe and started promoting modern Hebrew. They stopped speaking Hebrew because they objected to they were only using it because they were forced to, but they objected to these secular Jews using or trying to resurrect modern Hebrew as an everyday language, intentionally. They saw that as an attack on their religion, so they stopped speaking Hebrew. Even in Israel today, there are Orthodox Jewish communities, I believe the Haredi, the Haredi Jews, and many of their sects prohibit speaking modern Hebrew because they say it is a sacrilegious attempt to sully, I don't know, it's really just shit. They see it as a blasphemy against their holy language. They speak Yiddish. The religious institutions in Israel that have signs do not speak Hebrew here, okay? Well, do not speak modern Hebrew here at least, because you're only allowed to read it off the page. And the Ben Yehuda, who I mentioned earlier, but the Ben Yehuda guy, he was very open about the fact that the reason why he was very interested in modern Hebrew specifically because he really hated religious Jews. He hated them. He wanted to secularize the Jewish people, turn them into a European-style national unit without religion, basically. Turn them from basically an ethno-religion into a nation. And I do have a good book on this. The Orthodox Jews of Jerusalem soon sensed that for Ben Yehuda, Hebrew was not a holy tongue, but a secular national tongue, and that his purpose for introducing spoken Hebrew was solely nationalist and political. They began to suspect him, and Ben Yehuda became an extremist in his anti-religious attitude. He registered as a national Jew without religion. That opposition from the Orthodox would color his entire career, actually, it would outlast him. To this day, there are segments of the ultra-Orthodox world that see him as the enemy. They are appalled by his dishonesty. Did he really pretend to be one of them to advance his mission? This is a book by a Jewish scholar about the quote-unquote resurrection of Hebrew. The adoption of modern Hebrew was specifically chosen to legitimize an ethno-nationalist project of settler colonialism in Palestine. That is a fact. The idea was twofold. One, we are speaking, well, we believe that we are speaking, obviously it's not remotely the same language, the same language as people who lived here 2,000 years ago. Ergo, we have more of a claim to steal this land. And two, it was a means of attacking religious Judaism and trying to secularize Judaism. And yeah, Israel is not a religious extremist state, it's an ethnic supremacist state. So that's the construction of modern Hebrew. That is all historical fact. My sources for this are literally all Jewish scholars, okay? Well-regarded Jewish scholars, too. Nothing about what I've said here is controversial, even in the slightest. The only thing that might be slightly controversial is using the word constructed instead of reconstructed. But functionally, those mean the same thing. The only difference is emotional. You see, there's all of that, and all of it's irrelevant to the question here, which was this idiotic post on Warsh's subreddit. The core question here has nothing to do with the construction of Hebrew. The core question here is, if you see someone speaking modern Hebrew conversationally, is it anti-Semitic to think that they are Israeli? The answer to that is no, okay? Conversational modern Hebrew is not the same thing as religious Jews elsewhere in the world who read Hebrew in, like, you know, the Torah or whatever, okay? Oh yeah, something that I forgot to mention is that the Jews already had their own languages even before this. They could have chosen, the Zionists could have chosen Yiddish, for example, or Ladino. The reason why they didn't choose these languages is because they hated those languages. They viewed Jews who lived in other countries as, like, weak and deserving of their oppression. So for them, this idea of choosing Hebrew as a language in large part as well was a negation of what they called diaspora Jewish tradition. And Israel literally banned the use of Yiddish for a very long time because so many people who moved there, so many Jews who moved there, would keep speaking Yiddish. You know, they had like Yiddish newspapers and shit like that. And they considered this a threat because for them, the creation of Israel and the Zionist project in general was a rejection of the European, the Middle Eastern, etc., Jewish tradition and a creation of a new Jewish nationalist tradition. I'll quote Rabkin here, who said that the victory of Hebrew over Yiddish was not the triumph of one language over another, but rather of an ideology, a rejection of so-called exile, and the creation of a new Hebrew man.
Communism is based.
Guess I chose the wrong people for the job. My
What's the
bad.
apps?
BDA 1 down.
Now, there's obviously nothing wrong with speaking modern Hebrew if that's the language that you learn. It's no less valid than any other language that you speak. But it is important to understand how its connection with Israel, like with the Zionist project, functions. And it's also important to understand that if you see someone speaking modern Hebrew and you assume they're Israeli, you're obviously not being anti-Semitic in any way, shape, or form. It just doesn't make any sense unless you think it's racist to assume that someone who speaks Japanese is from Japan. That's an incredibly neutral thing. You know, the problem with Israel is obviously not that they speak modern Hebrew. If they did choose Yiddish, they would still be a terrible settler colonial state founded on the racial expulsion of Palestinians. But it's still definitely not wrong or anti-Semitic to bring up the fact that modern Hebrew is a constructed language or a reconstructed language or a revived language, however you want to call it. And that alone isn't a bad thing. But the bad thing about that, at least about it being constructed in this way, you know, past a certain point, you can't exactly control what language you're a native in. It's just whatever you were born into. But there are problematic aspects about why it was constructed. And pointing those out is not anti-Semitic in the slightest. I'm sorry, you have to be a complete fucking moron. And I think this is a great example of how, like try to attack anyone who attacks Israel in entirely accurate terms, who looks at Israelis exactly the same as they look at people from other settler colonial nations. And they insist on this obviously ridiculous trick where they just change the word Israeli to Jew. That's how it works. And these people are anti-Palestinianists. That's how this is. If you equate denouncing the oppressors of the Palestinians with anti-Semitism, if you equate denouncing Israel or Israelis with anti-Semitism, you are anti-Semitic yourself. And you're also anti-Palestinianist, okay? It's really that simple. If we are not allowed to denounce Israel in the exact same terms that we denounce every single other settler colonial nation, if we're not allowed to denounce Israel in the exact same terms that Palestinians denounce Israel themselves, all you're doing there is policing the oppressed and their advocates on the side of the oppressor. You're inventing completely bullshit narratives, playing word games where you change words around completely to completely change the meaning of what's being said, to invert who the oppressor and the oppressed is in this relationship, and advocate for the oppressor against the oppressed. That is the fact. That is a fact. And I hope this complete and utter smackdown of these complete morons who think that them not knowing something, like I don't know anything about this, so it's anti-Semitic if you dare say something that is literal historical fact. It's anti-Semitic if you say that someone who speaks the language that 95% is spoken by people in Israel, you are anti-Semitic. The next time that you hear a Chinese person speaking Chinese and you're like, oh, that guy's probably Chinese, remember that you are a racist. Remember that. That's how this works, apparently. Absolutely incredible stuff, but you really can't expect much from people who have never read a book in their lives and whose politics are really just based around attacking anyone who doesn't like their favorite internet personality. That's all there is to it. It's a glorious day. Ethan Klein is streaming about me again. First, he dedicates 30 minutes of his failing podcast to me. Then he literally makes a main channel H3 Productions video about me. And now he's doing a podcast about me again. This guy is unwell. And I almost feel bad. But he's a Zionist, so I don't. We're gonna milk him even more. Poopy Ethan Klein. Poopy bumhole Ethan Klein. Poo everywhere, Ethan. Poopy Ethan. I can't wait for this. This is gonna be awesome. All because he can't respond on the actual issue of Israel-Palestine. So all that he knows how to do is to try and frame himself as the victim of like this incredible conspiracy that I am now apparently at the head of. And I'm like an international criminal. I have like 1 billion criminal charges against me and all this stuff. All because he can't deal with what I say when I refuted him. Incredible. No crash out this bad has ever happened. Amazing. This is going to be juicy. I'm genuinely stoked. Every time this dumbass goes live, he loses like 5,000 subscribers. And I gain a ton of money off him. Every single time he does this, it just goes horribly for him. This man is unwell. And I should probably feel bad about like benefiting from his absurd breakdown, but I don't. I'm sorry. Poopy Ethan Klein. This is why I don't believe the CPS thing as well. Because if CPS is actually investigating his family and he's going live and he's like twitching like he's on drugs and screeching about how it's all a conspiracy and Reddit and Twitch are after him and some guy named Bad Empanada is also after him and like he's the leader of this whole conspiracy, how would that look for the CPS investigation? He's surely not dumb enough to not realize they're looking at his online shit now. They know who he is, obviously. In the first place, they're investigating him because, again, I will play the clip. He fucking said on his own stream, just out there in public, that his kid had caught a parasite and that apparently his house was dirty enough that for him, he believed this parasite was caught through eating shit. I don't know why he just leaves this shit there on his channel. It just counteracts his entire narrative. We'll just play this for good measure again. I'm sure you've all seen it 1,000 times before. And then we'll go to Ethan Klein fucking trying to paint me as like an international criminal. Again. Amazing.
One part of it. The next part is...
What's the next?
That Olive has Giardia, which is a bacterial infection in the intestines that makes you have diarrhea.
And Olive has this?
Don't you hate it when you get defamed by people making fun of you based on exactly what you fucking said on your podcast yourself?
Olive has this. Yeah, she came to us with it.
Okay.
She had diarrhea, and
oh, poor baby.
Ducky came to us with that too. And I just wonder why.
Israeli.
Relatively common.
It should be. They should have found it already. But anyway, so she has giardia, so we have her on an antibiotic, but we had to wait until Monday, which is today. We just got it today. And, well, Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has giardia.
Oh, shit.
And now Ela has giardia.
Shut. For real?
And now...
Imagine being a CPS officer watching this. Imagine being Ethan Klein and having CPS take concern about your children because of this clip, and you blame everyone but yourself for it. Because the problem here is the state of your house that caused this to happen. Nothing else.
I think this morning I had diarrhea.
Oh my God.
Incoming lethal.
What can I do to not get it?
Yeah, I'm trying to...
Because I'm not trying to get it.
No, it's extremely ridiculous to get. You have to ingest my poop. Are you planning on that?
There you go. Like, no one has to say anything. He said it himself. It's right fucking there. Exactly what I said is what he said. I'm citing him, the man himself. I'll keep saying it too. Ethan Klein, poopy Ethan Klein. He has a long fucking history of poop fetish, by the way. It's so fucking bizarre. You could make an entire compilation about it. Someone else should. I'm not going to though. I don't make streamer compilations. So let's check out what he had to say about me on the podcast. Fuck yes! I hope it's longer than 20 minutes this time. My war against Snark. Why is there like a blue-haired person in the middle there? Who the fuck even is that? I'm angry that person is there instead of me. Man, this has like 30k, 22k views. That seems low for them. So I just want to emphasize here, the reason why he's doing this is because he can't respond to my actual arguments in politics. So he's doing this thing where what he's doing explicitly is jumping onto a narrative that I went over in a previous video of mine on my main channel that was created by Argentine far-right neo-Nazis and Zionists who targeted me with a mass harassment campaign to like try and paint me as like an internationally wanted criminal and like a convicted pedophile. So Ethan is like latching onto that to attempt to like do everything except actually address the facts in my video. So this is the video where I went over that, if you're interested in the whole affair. And unlike Ethan Klein's insane conspiracy video, I have actual fucking citations that directly show exactly what I'm saying. I have actual real police reports that I actually cite in the video that I show to the camera. Not like Ethan Klein, who just threatens and makes shit up. So let's check out Ethan Klein's Bad Empanada Crash Out. Woo! He's just going over the shit conspiracy video that he uploaded and reiterating everything about it. Imagine like you're a fan of this podcast, and I don't know what it was about once. I've never seen it until it was about whatever the fuck this is. Like maybe it was about comedy or something at one point. Though Ethan Klein is very unfunny, so I seriously doubt that. So you're a fan of this podcast, and gradually it just becomes the host just fucking complaining about people criticizing him on the internet over and over, and concocting an elaborate conspiracy theory about that. Dude, you are unwell. Like, he's so angry about the fact that he can't bully me into submission by sending his fans at me to do death threats and just defaming me with this ridiculous narrative where I'm like an internationally wanted criminal or whatever. He is just so absurdly angry that he can't bully me into submission because it's what he's used to doing, because he's a rich fuck. He's used to just throwing money at his problems. He's used to having influence. He's used to being able to tell people what to do. He can't do it to me, and it makes him so pissed. I don't get scared of him, and it just makes him so angry. And I love it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. This guy has never been told no in his life. He's being told no finally. You know, I'm not catering to the death threats of his fans, the racism from his fans. I'm not falling in line. He can't handle it. The poor guy. He's used to filing frivolous lawsuits against people to get them to stop talking about him. You know, he's used to like getting his contacts at Reddit and shit, as he said in his video, to ban people for criticizing him. He can't handle it when it doesn't work. And you just know this guy's doing everything to try to get to me. Like, he's hiring private investigators. He's begging his lawyers to try and do something. They can't. Ethan has insinuated multiple times that he has hired private investigators to go after his targets, basically. Like, he is the doxer in chief. Yesterday, he doxed another random guy's Facebook account for leaving a mean comment. Let's watch Unwell Ethan Klein crash out further right after his Shopify.com ad. Apparently.
A huge team of experienced programmers, you know, it's just a small monthly fee. But you don't even have to worry about that because if you go
Great
to
ad read, Ethan. Imagine your CPS and you look at this guy fucking shaking and sniffing. This can't be good for the investigation. Let's go!
All of them accountable. Here, for example, is...
What is this? He makes a video on his main channel and he dedicates a podcast episode to just rewatching his own video and live reacting to it while having uncontrollable eyebrow twitches. Look at that still. Look at that fucking still. Look at this guy. He is unwell. This man. Look at him. He's The Rock. He just transformed into fucking Rocky Maivia. I can't believe it. I bow before you, Ethan. He just did the fucking Rock eyebrow like it's nothing. That takes talent. Involuntary talent, but talent nonetheless. Wow, I can't do that. I couldn't do it if I tried. I can't even raise one eyebrow like that, dude. I smell what fucking Ethan is cooking. Amazing.
Denims, aka Hassan Waiting Room, watching Bad Panada talk about the state of our house and how we take care of our kids. Let's take a look.
His dogs shit all over his mansion, and he just leaves the shit on the floor, something that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is suing him for a number of different reasons.
True.
I pointed out, I cut this, but I pointed out, it looks like he's in a prison.
I am, Ethan. I'm coming at you from prison, Ethan.
Well, I said hopefully that's foreshadowing. Or maybe he is in prison and Argentina's really progressive with their prison system. I don't know. But
it is. I've been in prison for a while. They let me stream from prison. They're all in on it, Ethan. How'd you know?
His house looks so fucking depressing. That is just... And like he's got the bars on the window, you see?
Whoa!
Yeah, bro, your walls are just empty in the whole fucking ass house? Like not a single thing?
Usually I think the bars go...
I don't know, should I put all of my accomplishments on my wall, Ethan? Like, let's think of Ethan's accomplishments. I don't know. He's just grasping at anything, though. This is awesome.
Outside of it.
Why don't you have paintings on your walls? I don't know, Ethan. Maybe I'll put a painting of dog shit on your floor. Thanks for the idea.
Window when it's like for protective measures. Why are the bars inside of the window?
I think those are, as much as I want to believe they're bars, I think
they're there to keep me in from all of my many victims.
Blinds that are...
Those are bars, my friend.
Okay, I see what AB's saying.
Those are actually... I didn't see that. What about this, AB?
Yeah, I didn't see that. Yeah, I think you're right. See the pain.
Dude, it's bars. What are we talking about? This man, I mean...
What are we talking about? He's not in prison.
I know he's not in prison, but this is normal in places where they put the bars on the windows to stop
Well,
prison.
sure, yeah, I guess.
That's what it is, but I'm just making jokes.
But they seriously usually are on the outside of the window.
It's not a joke, it's true.
I think he must be in some kind of conservatorship. He's locked in some...
He's forced to do these.
He's locked in some apartment somewhere.
Ethan, are you losing? Are you getting fucking wrecked by one single guy who does everything himself while you have a whole crew, a whole studio, fuck off money, and you're losing to a guy who's literally in a conservatorship in jail this hard? I'm making you crash out and do entire podcasts about me. Ethan, are you sure about this narrative? Does this make you look good?
For his own good. They forgot to turn his internet off. Unfortunately. No, he's actually one of the sickest dudes on the internet.
Let me do
Anyone that knows anything about it knows. I mean, this guy, I'll show you in this video, but he did a video.
Let's see.
There's so much, dude, to say about him. It's kind of insane. In fact, Bad Empanada...
You should react to one of my whole videos and show everyone how bad it is. You should react to an entire video of mine.
It's in the video, but you're not going to be happy to know this, but people have infiltrated your... He has a Patreon... a Patreon for people, sorry, a Discord.
Patreon.com/badempanada. You can get in the Discord for $1.
And they all have access to this place where they do they literally talk about doing psyops, faking posts, brigading, all this shit. And I have 4 years of all of his chats. There's stuff in there that will put him in prison. I'm not even fucking kidding. Like, he is a straight up. And so going through this, I was trying to figure out.
That's so funny. Let me show you the psyops. It's so funny. I'll just show you some of these epic psyops straight from my Discord. Search for psyop. We need a psyop. I'm going to go to jail for this, apparently. This is the first result for psyop. We need a psyop in the H3H3 sub encouraging Ethan to debate me because it'd be so easy. I'm going to prison for that one, Ethan. They've infiltrated my Discord. The Discord that anyone who pays $1 can join. They've infiltrated it. It's so insane in there. What other psyops have we got? It's over. I'm going to prison. Your Honor, they said to post on my Reddit saying that I should debate Bad Empanada. Case closed. It's over for him. It's the end. It is truly over. The psyops You will never get away with this, bad empanada. A psyop, a so-called psyop, where I say that I want Destiny to sue me for calling him a pedophile, and that people should do a psyop in his subreddit, encouraging him to sue me. I want Destiny to sue me for defamation for calling him a pedophile, and then we can cite the definition of pedophile and play 5 clips where he talks about his attraction to 14-year-olds. Can we do a psyop in his subreddit? Destiny should definitely sue Bad Empanada and force him to prove in court that he's a pedophile. The tanky would have no choice. Put the idea in his head like Inception. I'm going to jail for that. Let's just say it's a terrible crime. Posting psyops on Reddit, that's a fucking jail right there. What else have we got? So, new Discord psyop. Post on the Vorsh subreddit that tanky Bad Empanada is attacking progressive YouTuber Johnny Harris and needs our support. Bad Empanada even uses far-right conspiracy theories against the WEF. Yeah, I'm going to jail for that one. What else have we got? New Bad Empanada psyop. Let's check out this one. And again, if you want to fact check me, just pay $1 and join my Discord and search for psyop. You can see all of our nefarious things that are going to get us sent into jail. New Discord psyop. Post this image with title, "Could Bad Empanada be any more anti-Semitic?" on Vorsh V subreddit. I'm going to jail. Jail is coming. Prison is coming. Well, I'm already in jail, so it's kind of jailception, honestly. This is going back 3 years already. I'm sure there's more nefarious psyops in the Bad Empanada subreddit, but you're gonna have to pay $1 if you want to search for them yourself. But yeah, as you can see, I am going to fucking jail for the content of this Discord server. That I think I send 2 messages in per week, and half of them are like yelling at someone for being annoying. So yeah, I am very excited to go to jail, honestly, for Discord chat logs that are just out there in public. And always have been. Thanks, Ethan.
What to do with it. And I think the best thing is just to release it to the public. And you
just release it to anyone can join my Discord, Ethan. It costs a fucking $1. Release it to the public. Oh man, it's over for me. It's fucking, I am done. I'm fucking done. My Discord server that is just completely open for anyone who pays $1 has smoking gun evidence. It's been there all along, and no one has reported it yet. That's all. No one knew about this until Ethan uncovered it.
That he has a psyop in there, that he's like participating in brigading like clandestine operations to
clandestine operations, like me saying, "Hey guys, let's bait Vorsh viewers into like calling up anti-Israel, anti-Semitic. Calling an anti-Israel video anti-Semitic." Ooh. Oh my God, guys, it's over for him. He's going to jail. He said, bait Ethan Klein into debating me. That is a clandestine psyop. This guy is honestly, he must be on drugs. What the fuck is this? Oh, shit. He's straight up lost it. This is just funny.
To just terrorize these people is staggering.
Just to terrorize these people?
I think if I just release it to the public, people will just, every community should look through that and just see the fucking depths of evil that this guy is. Because...
the depths of evil from my Discord server logs. Anyone can go there and look this up. Are you kidding? I encourage you all to go to Discord and search From Bad Empanada. See all of my posts ever on Discord, and you can see like how I'm leading an international criminal ring.
This guy's been going on a victory tour since October 7th. He's getting promoted by everybody. He's getting promoted by Denim.
A victory tour. Isn't a victory tour what you thought you would have after the content nuke? How's that going, Ethan? You're fucking crashing out over the same fucking losing a debate on Israel-Palestine, which is what this actually is now, still, that you are before that. Didn't go too well, did it?
Mike from PA, from Denims. Hassan has been watching him religiously.
A
lot of times. And the one guy I really want to shout out the most, this is someone I want to do.
I think it's fucking bizarre how he insists all this stuff about me, but he never shows it. He never like actually goes over the videos that he claims I've made that are so bad and wrong. And it's because he knows he can't. All that he can do is like try and frame me as a wanted international criminal. This reminds me of like the one funny thing that Sam Hyde, who was a neo-Nazi piece of shit I should add, the one funny thing that Sam Hyde's fans ever did was claim that every school shooter is him and successfully get news outlets to believe it. That's fucking hilarious. Ethan is like the kind of guy who would believe that. He just does it over and over again. He's just like, Bad Empanada is like a fucking international criminal mastermind. He's in prison. He's organizing secret criminal drug cartel operations on his Discord server. This is all just out there in the open, but I'm the first one to uncover it. This guy is losing to a completely solo YouTuber with no help, no editors, no nothing. You're losing to me. You're losing to a guy streaming from a prison cell with bars on the windows. Not just me, you're also losing to random Reddit moderators, neckbeards. What is going on, Ethan? You're a famous guy with a fucking podcast. What is wrong with you? Get help. I am an international criminal mastermind.
Too, but I never had a chance.
Let's check it out.
Matt Lieb. He works for Good Mythical Morning.
Matt Lieb. Woo! Matt Lieb. Excellent podcast. Check it out. Bad Hasbara.
And he is Bad Empanada. Here's what I'm saying about taking no prisoners. I don't care about anything.
I mean, no one cares about what you have to say about anything anymore either, if they ever did. So
this guy is...
Yeah.
Well, this guy works for Good Mythical Morning, acting like he's wholesome, and he's bringing on somebody that wants to kill my wife, unironically.
Your wife, who said the other day that she wants to fucking disappear like some guy I don't even know, Andrew McIntyre. She said she wanted to disappear that guy. Your wife who raided like a fucking random Palestinian house in the occupied West Bank. I wonder if those IDF raids ever kill anyone, Ethan.
Or in a video.
Your wife is a terrorist, though.
I mean, he is pro-terrorism. I mean, he says, he literally said on Twitter that he looks forward to masturbating to the videos of dead children from Hamas.
He's just citing defamation again. That's incredible. That's incredible. Ethan Klein has said this before, claimed that I said that I want to rape Israeli babies or something, which is a fake tweet made by Argentine far-right / organized Syrian collective Zionist mass harassment campaign to attempt to get people to kill me. Something that I literally have the fucking police reports to prove, by the way, as I went over in my video about this. And Ethan Klein's first engagement with me debunking him on Israel-Palestine was to cite that fake tweet immediately and spread defamation from the Israeli, the Zionist organized harassment groups and the Argentine far right. Hold on, let me find it. This video here, I'll play the part where I go over how this is fake. Check it out. Debunked in advance.
So the Syrian collective doesn't really exist anymore, though its users are still around. It sort of collapsed because in June of last year, the leader of the group, who was paying its participants to dox and harass people in an attempt to incite others to kill them, was ousted then as Daniel Linden, who's basically one of those guys who manages accounts on OnlyFans. I mean,
isn't it?
Come on, dude.
Right? And the guy who led his defamation campaign against me is like a fucking pornographer. Of course. That the group sort of fell apart. It was basically a Telegram group through which they coordinated harassment campaigns against people. This is the people who Ethan is siding with, by the way. Syrian Collective, this organized harassment group. In that Telegram, you can see here them posting images of dead Palestinian children and celebrating their massacre. This is who he is in line with for media and mass reporting campaigns and stuff like that. So initially, Syrian started responding to me, spamming fake screenshots they made of me, accusing me of the same sort of stuff that the Argentine far right was. But it kind of failed to get much attention despite their best efforts, because at the end of the day, no one really followed their accounts except a bunch of bots and members of the organization itself, so they didn't really have much reach. On January 12, 2024, they made this fake screenshot and started posting it everywhere, but it didn't really get much dissemination outside their own circle. So at that point, they decided to try and enlist someone with a bigger following to spread their defamation against me. And the guy who ended up doing this for them was a total loser known as Drew Pavlu. Drew Pavlu is basically a guy who, ever since he was 18 years old, has been doing nothing but framing himself as a really brave anti-Chinese government activist while failing completely to ever actually hold down. Do we need to go over fucking Drew Pavlu? I feel like we don't, but I'm playing it
job or anything at all. And a couple of years into that grift, he got noticed by Australian far-right financiers, chief among them, a guy named Simon Fenwick. Simon Fenwick is a far-right millionaire who is deeply involved in the funding.
Ethan, you might notice how I have receipts for everything that I'm saying here. I have proof. I don't have baseless shit I made up like you do. You should learn. Proof matters. Evidence matters. Because the thing is, I'm not making this up. You're making your harassment campaign up.
Of many, many causes on the far right in Australia, and also, coincidentally, pro-Israel groups. So Drew Pavlu ended up
getting hired by Simon Fenwick to shift from his previous grift, which was like, I'm critiquing China from the
You
left.
also notice how I'm not twitching uncontrollably. It's a good sign that I'm not lying like you are.
Aggressive to a new grift, which is much more openly right-wing and very much overtly pro-Israel. And this is very much a matter of public record. There was a case where Drew Pavlou was forced to disclose who pays him. Turned out that he received $25,000 from a company owned by Simon Fenwick. He's also openly thanked and praised Simon Fenwick numerous times for his support. You know, it's open, it's clear, it's obvious that he's getting paid by this guy and possibly by others to basically just be a far-right troll online who defames people in mostly aborted attempts to get them to stop critiquing the causes that Simon Fenwick and others like him support. And Pavlou's horrible behavior under the influence of this far-right money became so extreme that he actually ended up getting expelled from Amnesty International for it. So Shirion evidently got in contact with Drew Pavlou, and he was very, very happy to start spreading the same stuff that they were spreading about me. And this new defamation campaign was centered around the screenshot that Shirion had fabricated and started trying to spread.
This is the fake screenshot that Ethan's talking about, which was fabricated by this pro-Israel harassment group and then passed to Drew Pavlou, who's a member of the Shirion Collective.
3 days earlier, and wouldn't you know it, the fake Discord screenshot from that Vosh subreddit post that we went over at the beginning of the story. Interestingly, this also followed me getting a number of messages from Drew Pavlou, which included things like my passport number and my address, and this happened on December 2nd, 2023, which was more than a month before he and Shirion Collective's doxing and defamation campaign against me began, which happened on January 12th to 15th, 2024. So I think it's pretty clear that they had this planned in the pipeline for quite a while. Also very interesting is that right exactly around the time this was happening, I found this out a lot later, but the YouTuber Keffels, bizarrely, was doxing me at the same time. Like, she openly said in a DM with someone.
Isn't it fucking weird how, like, all of these fucking people just get fucking gobs? They're dominated by me so much on my second YouTube channel so effortlessly that they all, like, hire fucking private investigators to dox me and shit and do, like, psyops to infiltrate my Discord by paying me $1 on Patreon. I fucking, like break people's brains. It's crazy.
Well, I guess that's not open, but she said
I barely even try.
I believe it was her editor in DMs that were later leaked, that she hired an Argentine private investigator to find my address and my docs and all that sort of stuff. So I have to, wonder if there was some sort of link between this and this Shirion and Drew Pavlou doxing / defamation campaign. That would be fucking wild. It's just really suspicious that all this was happening at the same time. Like, Keffel's doxing me, Drew Pavlou and Shirion doxing me and defaming me, and the Argentine far-right doxing me and defaming me. Literally all happened in December 2023 and January 2024. So let's take a look at the new purported screenshot of something that I purportedly, allegedly posted, according to these people, which they were using to accuse me of basically, the sort of thing that gets people to hunt and kill you. Obviously, for precisely that reason, that's what they wanted to happen to me. So you have the original Vosh subreddit screenshot, which I went over, and then you have this purported screenshot, which, spoiler, isn't real. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you might remember this tweet from Ethan Klein, noted genius, holding it up to the camera in one of his anti-Hassan rant videos and saying, this is a real tweet. Keep it in mind too, because it's going to come up later when we get to the Kraut part. So before I provide really smoking gun evidence that this is just plainly faked, I want you to look at it and think with your brain so we can have at least some sort of teaching moment here. Does anything seem off about this to you? I would say that someone tweeting something like this, it probably wouldn't get 4 replies, 122 retweets, and 223 likes. I don't think that's very likely. You also have to think who types like this? I certainly don't. I don't think I've ever said any ways in my life. Thirdly is that who even claimed that Hamas raped a bunch of babies and kids? Did anyone make that claim? As far as I know, they claim that Hamas massacred 40 babies, which never happened, and actually only 1 baby in total was found to have died on October 7th. So it's like a perfect storm of things that should clue you in immediately that this is fake. Social media screenshots are pathetically easy to fake. It's really like Facebook grandma stuff at this point to see something like this and just immediately believe it uncritically. But anyway, so my account was suspended on the date that this screenshot purports to have been posted. So obviously I could not have tweeted it anyway. I do really, really wish that I had been on Twitter on October 7th, 2023 though. God, that's actually one of my biggest regrets ever. I'll never get to have that chance again. It was only unsuspended on November 6th after I did the thing, which if you don't know is commonly works on Twitter, where you say I am a far right Trump supporter and I was mass reported by the cancel culture police. Please unban me, and then they just unban you. So I did that and they unbanned me, and that was in November 6th, as you can see here. So I literally could not have posted this, aside from the fact that it's obviously fake anyway. What a coincidence that the first time this screenshot ever actually appeared was in January, 3 months after it was purportedly posted. Wow, it's almost like that's when someone made it. Nonetheless, of course, these people aren't interested in the truth. They're interested in defamation. They're interested in shutting down anyone who is against,
Oh my God, that describes Ethan so perfectly.
Millet or against Israel. And for them, that is what spamming this fake shit and these obviously defamatory false allegations is all about. And ultimately, that's really what it is for a lot of the people aside from them who also see this sort of thing and then start spreading it. They're just interested in
So the next part about this, if you're interested in watching this further, you go watch the video yourself. The next part is about how these screenshots were then
taken as real by far-right people who then tried to go to where I live and kill me. And unlike Ethan, I show the police reports and stuff to show this actually happened. I show all the evidence that this actually happened. I don't just claim this is a harassment campaign, I provide evidence. Now, I'm going to provide you all with further evidence of Ethan Klein spurring attempted killings of people, threats against people, because that's what Ethan Klein basically tries to do now. It's his entire internet presence is to like point at people, say, this person is like an unhuman, a subhuman. They have wronged me in ways that I will describe, but I won't provide any proof for. Audience, go after them. Then, of course, his audience goes after them. So let me show you what happens to you when Ethan Klein tells people to go after you. Just a little taste of some of the threats that I have saved. He knows that he can't actually beat us on the issues, so he's attempting to weaponize his remaining audience to get us killed. It simply is that. So here is a message from a swell fellow. I got this swell message from a guy who literally messaged me from his business Instagram account where he's like a tarot reader in Mexico. Very fucking bizarre. But he said, when I find your data, I'm going to send my Argentine friends to your parents' house. And if you are in Argentina, your house will be burned. And then he sends me a picture of a woman's face. I don't know who this person is. I think it's someone who made an anti-Ethan Klein video that he hates. And a picture of himself masturbating that I have obviously censored. And then he says, publish this for your mother, and specifically, if you are in Argentina, you are fucked. Very wonderful Ethan Klein fan there. Very good experience. 10 out of 10. Who else is there? Who else will we showcase? Just a little taste of it. I could make a whole video of this to like Epic Music or something. Everyone's best friend, Kyle, had this to say. Everyone loves a good Kyle, don't they? Let's check him out. Kyle's let me know that I deserve a bullet in the head and I should go fuck a goat because according to him, I'm a stupid Arab fuck. I mean, not surprising for Ethan Klein's fan base. Then he said, looking like a piece of shit, go die in Afghanistan, fucking a dirt hole. And he called me a towel head. Ethan Klein's fans really like the racial slurs, don't they? Never saw that coming. It's almost like Ethan Klein is a racist streamer who hates Arabs. Never knew that. Isn't it funny, like Ethan Klein's example of him being harassed is just like people calling him an idiot. And my example of Ethan Klein's fans harassing me is them literally telling me like how they're graphically going to murder me. We have this great Ethan Klein fan who sent me an image implying that he was going to murder me with a 9mm handgun. This is Mr. DD Slick. You can get a nice picture of him there. It's probably not him, probably like some guy, but you know, 9mm, he says. Wow, I wonder what that means. Who knows? Very indecipherable. No one knows what that means. It could be anything. Great comments from Ethan Klein fans here. We have Earth is dying, not just saying go to hell to me, which, you know, would be fine, except unless you're Ethan Klein. If someone says go to hell to you, it's the worst thing in the world. By the way, I got so many of these death threats that I do not believe that Ethan Klein gets anything like this from his so-called haters, because there's simply no way he would show them. There's no fucking way. I hope we don't find out anything personal about you, said the great Earth is dying. Thank you, my friend. What else have we got? We have another extremely nice Ethan Klein fan who has something to tell us about knives and my neck. Let's check that out. Glorious fan of Ethan Klein, doing what Ethan Klein wants his fans to do. He says, you better watch your back. I will stab you. I will 110% attack you with a knife, and I will aim for your neck. Do you understand, you subhuman freak? You look like your dad married a goat. Oh, and don't forget, there is no genocide in Gaza. Ethan Klein's fans tacking that on at the end. Surprising. I'll be back in Argentina soon. He says he'll find me and he'll put a knife in my neck. Wow. Brilliant Ethan Klein fan. I mean, we get the point, don't we? There's some others as well. Many others, many more death threats, but I want to highlight some more racism before we move on, because it's incredibly telling how incredibly and openly racist Ethan Klein's fans are. This is Mr. Lev Kravchenko, a very fantastic SpongeBob fan who's got some stuff to tell us. about Arabs, which he thinks I am apparently, because, you know, Ethan Klein has literally been zooming in on my beard and claiming that it's an Arab beard. It's obviously why his fans assume that. Let's take a look at what this fella had to say to me following Ethan Klein attempting to incite people against me and failing miserably, aside from these fucking losers doing so. This guy says, do you think people want to listen to a sand N-word from Argentina with a crush on another man? We got the homophobia in there as well. Ethan Klein's fans just seem to hate like every minority. They hate all of them. Crazy, right? They throw all the fucking isms in there. Great. So that's just a taste of what actual harassment is like, not people critiquing you on Reddit. It's Ethan Klein sending those people at you. So that makes it easier to understand why people other than me have gone, like, just, he's successfully harassed him into silence. Because when Ethan Klein does this to you, that's what happens. When Ethan Klein lies about you, he spreads some bullshit narrative about you, he tells his fans to do this stuff, and it's what predictably happens, obviously. Anyway, let's continue now with that in mind. On Ethan Klein, like, just pointing at Matt Lieb for supposedly platforming me. Oh wait, so no, something that I forgot. The Ethan Klein Boston bombing video, we have to watch that. As I said, I don't need to defame Ethan because he has factually touched himself while he filmed him to a video of what he called a juvenile.
Yeah. Anyway, ignoring the camel, fucking that fat, juicy, juvenile vagina.
I'd like to not watch this anymore. I hope that Ethan Klein talking about juvenile vaginas is good enough. You guys can imagine the rest, okay? This is a few things make me uncomfortable to not want to watch, and this is one of them. I don't have to make things up about Ethan because he's on fucking camera saying this shit. I don't have to defame you like you have to defame me, Ethan, because you actually do the things that I accuse you of. It must fucking hurt you so fucking bad, doesn't it? Doesn't it? You little bitch, you can't bully someone and they have all the receipts on you. You got fucking nothing on them. Oh, it pains you so much, Ethan. Oh, you rely on harassment, bullying, just being rich and silencing people with legal threats and shit, and it's not working and you can't deal. You can't fucking deal, you fucking tiny little bitch. She's gonna divorce you soon. She's gonna divorce you, Ethan. It's coming. Anyway, so what Ethan Klein does is just make a bunch of like out there batshit statements about me like being a prisoner, defamation about me being a pedophile, and then what he does is say like, how dare Matt Lieb talked about Empanada without providing any actual analysis of what me and Matt Lieb talked about? Like, watch the fucking video if it's so bad that he talked to me. I must have said such bad shit in there. You should talk about it, and even better, you should debunk it. You should debunk what I said, Ethan. Oh, you fucking can't. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about, just demanding that people be cancelled and that your fans harass them because you can't fucking deal with the facts on Israel-Palestine, and it's all coming crashing down, Ethan. It's all coming crashing down. You're too incompetent defending Israel for the raider of Ramallah, Hila Klein, Ethan. I got you. I got you. You are psychologically damaged. And it's all because I know the truth and I say it.
And Matt Lieb was like, this is the guy I want to have on.
Hell yeah.
And of course they talk about me. He's evil. I mean, he's just a disgusting fucking piece of shit.
He's evil.
And I think it's insane that Good Mythical Morning and hire somebody for their whole...
This isn't true. Good Mythical Morning specifically hired me for this. Good Mythical Morning got in contact with me and they were like, we love your work. It's so fucking... I don't even know what Good Mythical Morning is, by the way. But I want to make clear that I was specifically hired directly by Good Mythical Morning. I just love causing problems. I'm sorry. And they got in contact with me and they were like, Bad Empanada, we need you on Matt Lieb's podcast, which we manage directly. Everything that he says on there is our collective opinion. We need you on there now. I need to endorse you. International criminal, Bad Empanada, you anti-Semite. It's fucking awesome. That's what he believes. I'll play into it. Like, the best way to deal with someone like this is to just play into their fucking delusions. It's so great. Like, I've been playing into his delusions the whole time. I'm like, Ethan Klein, it's me, Ethan. It was me all along. I'm behind it all. I'm in cahoots with the CEO of Reddit and the CEO of Twitch, Dan Clancy. Or is Dan Clancy the Destiny Orbiter? I don't know which Dan it is. One of them is a CEO, the other one isn't. But I'm in cahoots with all of them, Ethan. It's me, Ethan. It's me. All of your problems are caused by me. I am evil. I am the mastermind behind it all, Ethan.
I wish I had a longer beard so that he could like point at me and say that I look too Islamic. It's all me, Ethan. It was me all along, Ethan. It's me, Ethan. It's me. Every problem that you have is because of me.
Matt, Bad Empanada on their podcast.
Hell, why don't you play?
At least everyone knows these other people are scumbags. Matt Lieb is like somehow snuck under the radar.
Thing to see because I've just watched.
He's actually watching the video. This is a huge mistake, Ethan. What if we say something that you can't refute?
So many people, kind of like audiences who once very much enjoyed someone like Ethan Klein or others as well. Watching.
This is the guy, by the way, just to remind you, who called AB a house slave.
Yeah, I did.
For saying I'm a good parent. So
yeah, AB is better trained than your dogs are. He doesn't shit everywhere. He does what you want him to do.
Yeah.
People kind of like
there's no civilized world where this guy's on your show. You can't have this. I mean, this is like having a Kanye West on your show and being like,
there's no civilized world where Israel exists. There's no civilized world where your wife raids random people's houses because it's like an adventure for her. There's no civilized world where your wife says live on stream that Yoav Gallant is a great guy. There's no civilized world where you touch yourself live on camera while Hila Klein films you to a fucking teenage terrorist victim and talk about a juvenile vagina. You know, Ethan, certain things just shouldn't exist in a real civilized world. Unfortunately, we don't live in a civilized world, and that's why you have a fucking podcast. Because in a world that was based on meritocracy, you'd be in the mines, Ethan, and you know it.
Kanye West, everybody. So let's talk about some racist shit and pretend.
Oh my God, he didn't even watch it. Sorry, I thought he would watch it. He just skips over it. Obviously, Ethan Klein is never going to watch what anyone actually fucking says and try to refute it. He just says that people are crazy. You should ignore them, and then he moves on. Point proven. Got him.
Well, that did happen with Alex Jones.
Say what?
That did happen with Alex Jones. Alex Jones brought him on.
Yeah, but that's Alex Jones. People take this guy
I'm Alex Jones.
seriously.
Fuck yeah, I'm Alex Jones.
Kanye going on Alex Jones is a meme. Nobody, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's changing their mind.
Kanye West is not just a fucking meme. Kanye West doesn't affect anything. Kanye West is like a dangerous fucking influential Nazi. You're whitewashing Kanye West now, you bizarre fuck. What the hell? I influence things, but Kanye West doesn't? You are crazy.
Yeah.
Version of themselves where they are just obsessed with.
He's watching it. Oh my God, it's better than I would ever expect.
The petty things about this subject, where they're not even. They don't. It's like
anyway. Go check it out yourself. I didn't even mean to pull up this link.
Anyway, go check it out yourself. What he means by that is go harass these people. Obviously, he doesn't actually want them to watch the fucking video. He doesn't want to watch the video himself, especially because once we say something, he has to refute it, and he can't. So he has to skip it. He has to close it. Fucking moron.
The computers tripping balls. Did the water seep in?
Yeah, maybe you dropped an entire car.
High production value podcast.
Might be a blessing in disguise.
When Tom's music starts playing, you know something fucked up. So my laptop appears fine. It just the TV signal got scrambled.
I'm having a fucking great time here. Ethan Klein is not.
Dan is on the move.
Every time he talks about me, it's like, fuck yeah, lazy ass content. I spend like an hour and a half talking about this dumb fuck, make a ton of money. Soon, you know what's going to happen? I'll be in the mansion. Woo!
Dan has rejiggered the HDMI cable. He has taken it out. He has unplugged it and replugged it back in. And Dan and his infinite.
What else does he say about me? Like he's like, go brigade, bud, Hasbara. He's like, look at these guys, brigade them.
That's why he's Dan.
This is what Ethan Klein does. He just tells you to go and harass people. This is the Go and Harass This Guy podcast. It's like group harassment session. It's amazing, right? What great content. This is for people who like want a truly interactive stream. Like every 5 minutes, Ethan Klein is directing you to go and send messages to a new person or their mother or their underage daughter. You never know who it could be. Spin the fucking wheel. Who is Ethan going to tell you to send death threats to today? You never know. That's what this is. It's like a truly interactive streaming experience. I get it now. Ethan Klein is a pioneer. He's pioneering like collaborative live doxing. I understand what the appeal is. I just realized it. That's it. That's what it is. They just go harass this guy. Look at this guy's Facebook. Look at his mother. Look at his 16-year-old sister. Send messages to them. Tell them what's what. Look at these guys. Look at that podcast. Leave negative comments here now. This podcast had Hassan Piker on. Negative comments now, fans. Go, go, go. He's figured out how to make streaming truly interactive. It's like Twitch plays Pokemon for 2025. Great work, Ethan. Great moves. Good job. Proud of you. Incredible.
He had an episode recently, 2 weeks ago, with Hassan called "Do You Condemn Hassan?" Like, do you condemn?
They talk to Hassan. Even more reasons to attack them, dude. Great work.
He supports Hamas. Here it is. I just want to show you the beginning of this. By the way, Bad Hezbollah, he has a podcast where he just solely shits on Israelis. That's what Bad Hezbollah is. It's like a meme.
Hezbollah is a meme.
Propaganda.
Hezbollah
it's like
means
a weird slur that people started picking up, calling just like Hezbollah means like a lying Jew, essentially.
Oh my God, this guy is... Hezbollah is literally a term directly used by the Israeli state for their propaganda. Like, if you go to the first result on Google, Wikipedia, for Hezbollah, the contemporary term Hezbollah was introduced by Nahum Sokolov, an Israeli Zionist, which it translates roughly to explaining. It's a communicated strategy that seeks to justify actions and is considered reactive and event-driven. And now, since the term has taken on a negative connotation because we call it out, now they call it public diplomacy. I'm pretty sure this article used to be called Hezbollah and they changed it because Israel changed the term they use, but the Spanish wiki page still has the old version, which says Hezbollah is a term used by the Israeli state and for independent pro-Israel groups to describe its efforts to explain the policies of the Israeli government and to promote Israel's image in the world. So Ethan Klein says Hezbollah is an anti-Semitic slur. This guy is so far down the Zionist pipeline, he's going to show up outside of Red HQ with a fucking gold star on his shirt next week. It's that bad. It's that fucking bad. He's at that level of self-victimization. This guy is crazed. Actually mentally unwell, needs help immediately, but he's not going to get it. He's just going to keep doing this shit.
All right, come on with the... What kind of intro is this, man? Cut to the chase here.
It's an intro song that is mocking the fact that Israelis claim that they own fucking everything. That's the intro. What's the problem?
Too bad. Oh, everybody.
You're actually going to watch something? Are you sure about this? This is a mistake, Ethan.
Hey, and welcome to Bad Hezbollah.
The world's most moral podcast. Matt, you're okay.
I'm alive. Ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't know if I was going to be doing...
Are you sure you want to watch this, Ethan? What if they say like an actual point and you have to respond? This is a mistake.
Here's my baddie. Here's my baddie. Baddie and Benata.
Story.
He's a straight baddie.
For being such a when she comes out, please.
What are they just watching an Israeli showing clothing and shitting on her? Like, is that what they're actually doing?
He does this constantly.
Sorry, I know this is a tangent.
It's a TikTok video of a fucking rich New York white woman trying to sell clothing that she named after individual hostages. And it's just so like rich bourgeois white women bullshit, and we laughed at it. And I will do it again any day. Ethan Klein did this same thing where it's just like, what are they doing? Just laughing at an Israeli? When it was like Hassan showing footage of like crazed Israelis rampaging and destroying aid settlements for Gaza. And he just called them normal, everyday people who look like they're doing charity. He does this all the time.
I just want to watch when he introduces him. Okay, here.
I told him to introduce me as an international criminal. I hope he did. I remember.
That's what Karen Bass meant to say.
Yes, that was the URL thing. That's the spin.
Songs about what I'm going to do for this Dan.
How hard is it to find this
I couldn't lock evacuate them, bitch in West
Look at me.
It was just
This is a professional podcast. This is a professional podcast, by the way. You're watching professionalism. There's like 10 people on this crew.
Shout out Adam Levin. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, please welcome Bad and Benata.
Yeah, I just want to point out Matt Lieb and Daniel Mate are both Jewish. So I think the Hezbollah is a anti-Semitic slur thing isn't going to work here, and it wouldn't work anyway. Gigantic.
Kill Eli Klein. What a fucking...
Yeah, dude, that was clearly said there. He just like inserts something that he made up in there. Like, oh, this guy definitely said to attack Hila Klein. He definitely said that. He just makes something up and moves on. He gets fucking too sick of what he's watching 2 seconds in. He can't even get to the points, especially tries to avoid the points fucking intentionally. My God.
He should be fired. No question about it.
I mean, that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is
fired.
him for a number of different reasons. So I would assume he doesn't actually have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just like covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids like crawl into the dog shit, and God forbid.
Look at her chat. So this to me is like very important clip. This was streamed Monday, March 1st, 2 days before the CPS call came in. The call was made on the 3rd. This clip happened on Saturday. The call came in on Monday, exactly preceding that. Wow, and look at the comments. Call CPS. Child endangerment must.
If someone called fucking CPS on you and they showed them the clip of you outright saying on your podcast that your kid contracted Giardia, and then you go on to say that you think they got it from eating dog shit, outright yourself, you said that you think it's contracted from eating dog shit. You said you thought that's basically the only way. Ethan, if someone showed that clip to CPS and CPS said they want to come to your house because of that, not only is that fair grounds for a CPS visit, but you're making things actively worse by going live and bitching about the CPS visit rather than working on your parenting to make sure that the problem doesn't happen again. Imagine the CPS officers watching this. This is why I don't think this is at all real. This is why it's quite likely that this is bullshit, because who in their right fucking mind would get visited by CPS and immediately just start fucking posting like shit on the internet where they're literally gyrating, sniffling, coughing, and going crazy, not about the fact that CPS thought that they were bad parents, but rather about the fact that someone reported them for something they factually said on their own podcast, which CPS found on its own merits concerning enough to warrant an investigation. An investigation of this isn't an investigation. You're making this so much fucking worse on yourselves. Do you not realize that? This is going to look so fucking bad. You know they're watching the shit you upload. Of course they are. What are you fucking doing? I feel bad for you because you don't realize this, or maybe I shouldn't feel bad for you because this is indicative of the fact that you're not taking this seriously at all. You're just like farming it for content. You're farming it as ammo to like basically try to get back at the same people you haven't been able to debunk on the facts this whole time. That's all it is for you. That's all it seems to, all you seem to care about. Using it as ammo against your fucking internet enemies who you can't debunk on the facts, so you just try to frame them as like criminals who called fucking CPS on you, when for one, you have no evidence of that, and for two, a CPS visit based on what you said on the fucking podcast was warranted anyway, and your reaction to that should be not, oh my God, how fucking dare this happen to me, and frame CPS like it's fucking swatting. CPS is a random guy trained to work with kids with a clipboard. It's not fucking swatting, Ethan. Nothing like that. You frame that as like something traumatizing and horrible. They're conducting an investigation. They're not interrogating the kids, they're interviewing them. And they're interviewing them because of you oversharing on your podcast. According to you, you said your kid got a parasite, and then you went on to say that you think this parasite is only contracted by eating dog shit. The implication of that is clear. The CPS officer obviously would have taken that reasoning from it, and they would have been concerned about that. If it was reported by someone, there's so many culprits, aside from a random streamer's chat, your ex-housekeeper, the doctor you took your kid to regarding the parasite. Any one of these people would have had to report Giardia in a fucking, what is it, like a 10-month-old kid? And then you're just making it worse. What are you fucking doing? It's honest, it bothers me actually, because he should be like fucking hampering down and trying to prove to them that he's a perfect parent, not doing this. You're just making it worse on yourself.
CPS, social.
You tell everyone that there's shit all over your floors and that your kid got a parasite from it on your podcast that got like 400,000 views. What the fucking hell did you expect, Ethan, man? Should I show you the clip again? Why not? For good measure. This is clearly the clip that prompted the CPS visit. Ethan says his kid got Giardia. He thought he had it. Hila had it. And then after that, he said that he thinks that you get Giardia from eating shit. The implication of that, like shit being on the floor is so normal in his house that his immediate thought is that his kid is eating shit. It's crazy, Ethan. If it's true, you shouldn't have said this. Why do you just overshare like this? It's so weird. You brought this shit on yourself. No one else did this except yourself because you said this. Why would you say this shit live? Like, you just straight up said, like, your house is a dump covered in dog shit. Your kid's got a parasite from it. And then you got made fun of for that. And you're surprised?
One part.
And the evil people are the ones who made fun of you for this embarrassing shit that you said live on stream. Not you for fucking saying this. Why would you say this if it wasn't true? What the fuck is wrong with you?
But the next part is...
What's the next?
That Olive has Giardia, which is it's a bacterial infection in the intestines that makes you have diarrhea.
And Olive has this?
Olive has this. Yeah, she came to us with it.
Oh. Okay.
She had diarrhea, and
oh, poor baby.
Ducky came to us with that too, and I just wonder why.
I'm just disappointed. It's
relatively
It should be. They should have found it already. But anyway.
I almost feel bad about doing this. It's like the defamation where he tries to paint me as like a convicted pedophile that makes me just, I don't care anymore, man. Like, it's just such a spiral from him. It really does almost make me feel bad because this guy should be hunkering down and doing everything that he possibly can right now to like make sure the CPS investigation goes nowhere. But he's doing this. He's just streaming about me, gyrating. He looks like he's on drugs. Like, come on. You have to be more careful in this, man. What are you doing?
So she has giardia, so we have her on an antibiotic, but we had to wait until Monday, which is today. We just got it today. And, well, Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has giardia.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
and now Ela has giardia.
Shut. For real?
And now I think this morning I had diarrhea.
Oh, my God.
The punchline is coming.
What can I do to not get it from you?
I'm trying to...
Because I'm not trying to get it.
Can I crank the AC, maybe?
It's extremely ridiculous to get. You have to ingest my poop.
Oh, why did you say that? Right after you said that your kid got it from putting random shit in their mouth. Why would you say that? And then you act surprised that it gets picked up on by CPS. You act surprised that you got made fun of for having a house covered in shit when you said that. If someone who was your enemy said something like this, you would jump on it and do the exact same, you fucking liar. The thing is, your enemies don't say embarrassing shit like this constantly, so you can't, and it fucking hurts you, doesn't it? I don't believe this CPS thing, given the way that he's acting. He clearly does not seem fazed by this. For him, this seems like nothing more than a convenient way to attack all the same people he was already attacking. It seems like bullshit. I want to see real proof of this before I believe it, and none of you should believe it until you do as well. The way that he is acting is not the way that a parent who is in their right mind would act if they were being investigated by CPS. He's just making things worse, if it was true.
Service, bro needs someone to call CPS. That's child. It's every comment. Yeah. How did they get the memo? Every single fucking comment.
It is child endangerment. What you said in that clip is child endangerment, Ethan.
If their kids have giardia, they actually need to be taken away. Like, that is... How could you...
Oh, my God.
Kids get
Wow, a random Twitch account named Glurp said that. It's the smoking gun you got him,
That's not that weird. Actual worst father ever. So Ethan isn't only sexualizing underage girls, he's also neglecting children. Bro, that's just insane. Like,
I showed the Boston bombing video. You want to see Ethan Klein sexualizing an underage girl? It's 100% true. Sex pest Ethan Klein. Check out the video. I will play one specific part because I do not want to watch this video. It genuinely bothers me. I will play one part that is him specifically sexualizing a girl he frames as underage.
Anyway, ignoring the camel, fucking that fat, juicy, juvenile vagina. Nigga wants to fuck that shit, boy. Yeah.
Okay. Justified statement. You sexualized what you said was a juvenile. Justified.
You know what the fuck?
They should show that one to fucking CPS as well.
Decliner needs to take care of his kids.
Just from like,
Jerry means you're leaving your dog shit on the floor for a while and your kids are walking on it, probably eating it.
Contact with it. Yeah, you said that on the screen, Ethan. You said that was happening on the screen.
But his youngest baby contracted giardia and his entire family has it now because of the rescue dog got it and was shitting in the house. Yeah, and again, I clarified that actually nobody ended up having it, but all of. So this is what she's.
It doesn't matter if you clarified later. You said this. You said that yourself on your fucking podcast. Not everyone has to go to your podcast. Not everyone is obliged to go there and get your updates on your kids' parasites and whether or not they ate shit, Ethan. The fact that you yourself said that it is more than enough. You've been citing defamation against tons of people. What happened like a month ago? You said that you were going to make a video with evidence that Hassan Piker is a rapist. You fucking didn't do that, did you, Ethan? Just fucking dissipated into nothing. You do this constantly. For what we say about you, we have clear evidence of you admitting it. You make shit up about people and then it never surfaces. This happens constantly. You fucking liar.
This is her community while she's watching Bad Empanada talk about it. 2 days before the call came in.
They contracted a parasite that I had previously never heard of in my life called giardia.
And then just look at her dumb fucking face.
That is all over his house.
Dude, how is it?
I love the level of research.
Yeah. I love the level of research. Dude, how dare you, of all people, say that?
Is this true?
It is true. You said it on your podcast. We went over it multiple times.
Everybody in chat saying call CPS. Is this true, even?
How is it? Just from like contact with their hands or something. But they contracted a parasite.
I was actually generous to him there. contact with their hands or something, I was generous because he didn't just say that. He said that it was from eating shit in his own words. I was so generous there.
Man, like, show some fucking show some respect, show some grace, dude. Show some.
What? You literally dox people's mothers on stream, you dumb fuck.
Like,
shut up.
At least a little judgment. I know it's like you think you can say and do anything you want about me ever, all the time.
Oh my God, the projection is so
You're talking
crazy.
about my kids. Your chat is saying call CPS. You don't want to say any single fucking thing about that? You sick, twisted, evil woman.
This is going to look so bad for CPS that he's doing this instead of working on.
Once again, my friend, hey, it's been a while since I saw my face. I haven't been doing so great, so I took a little break.
A lot of people are saying some things about me that aren't quite true. Doesn't matter if it's true, though. Just as long as it's entertaining to you.
As an anti-Semitism problem host, Hassan Piker, you're a good Jew. Challenge him to do better than this.
In this video, I just want to explain why I stopped watching H3 over the past few months. What made me go from a pretty big fan of the show to, I guess, what Ethan would call a fallen fan. I've always known Ethan had his shortcomings, and I could usually look past them and still enjoy the show. But lately, it's been way too much. The hypocrisy and double standards have just piled up. So I figured, why not make a video about this to highlight what's been bothering me and why, after all these years, I've decided to stop supporting Ethan.
Why are people mad at me? I want someone, please, to explain it. Explain why you're mad at me. Go ahead. I'm dying. Please. Tell me why. I'd love to know why. If you are actually articulated why you're mad at me, it wouldn't make any sense. So I'm dying. Please write it. Not even disagreeing, frankly. Just trying to have a conversation. So, in short, you know, suck my fucking dick.
Echo chamber. Echo chamber.
So Ethan has been on a crusade against several creators, including his former co-host Hassan, and recently he's criticized Hassan specifically for not watching the videos or addressing the points Ethan raised against him.
They're talking a lot about my former co-host Hassan Piker and leveling some pretty serious criticism against him. I knew that he wasn't going to take it well and wasn't going to respond to any of the points made. In fact, Hassan, I'm sad to say, did not watch any of it. He didn't watch a single point I made. Instead, he took to saying that I'm crazy.
But about a month ago, I recall Ethan having a meltdown over a video made about him from a smaller creator called North Star Radio. So let's see if Ethan watched it and how he responded to the points made in the video.
This dude, Comrade Casey, okay, he made a video about the end of Leftovers. I haven't watched the whole thing. It's long as fuck, and I generally don't like watching videos like this because it's usually depressing. Bring back the Ethan Klein channel.
Bro, are you okay? I mean, all jokes aside, I mean, clearly not. Like, I feel so of two minds about all this stuff. Because, like, obviously, you know, from a practical standpoint, these people, their level of obsession and harassment is a detriment to our lives. But, like, that's when you see under the mask and you see the person and just, like, there's obviously a lot going on.
I'm out of sympathy.
Yeah, I get it.
Fuck this guy forever.
You don't need to
act this sideways.
I got you.
As you can see, instead of watching the video, Ethan's first reaction is to go through the creator's Reddit account and show his audience some of his old comments. I hope you are starting to understand my point, but again, here's Ethan a few days ago calling out Hassan.
Now, instead of actually addressing a single point, he stops it before he gets there. I hope it's clear to everybody just how bad faith this is right now, and how desperately he's trying not to respond to any of the actual criticism that I've made.
But let's see, maybe Ethan will give this video one more chance. After all, he's the one that brought it up during the podcast.
Well, Twitch streamer on the platform was blown up.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm North Star Commie Radio, and Ethan designed this page. It's like Charlie, but like Not funny?
So, yeah, 12 seconds in, and Ethan stops it to make a personal attack, and that's it. He won't show anything else from the video, and instead will go back to Reddit to comb through his comment history.
So anyway, this guy who made this video that's like super weird and biased towards Hassan and is like mega commie tanky. So this guy looked into him.
So a video he hasn't watched is apparently super weird and biased towards Hassan, but of course Ethan doesn't have to watch or show the video. It's way more effective to just tell his audience that this guy is a communist, so his points don't matter. This is a classic Tim Pool move, by the way. So let's go back to Ethan's recent video calling out Hassan.
You can see there's layers and layers and layers of character assassination, propaganda, logical fallacies, and not one response to any of the points that I've actually made. And it seems obvious to me that he's trying to poison his audience against me.
Character assassination and not one response to the actual criticisms? I really wonder who would do that.
This fucking doughy white bitch is making content that is biased against me. And also apparently he hates Jewish people. Comrade Casey, you bitch-ass weirdo. You look like a weirdo. And I don't hate mustaches, but man, that's a weirdo mustache. So this guy looked into him. This guy who runs North Star Radio, Comrade Casey, they found his Reddit account. He's a big Hassan fan and clearly developed a deep hatred for Ethan and Mila since October 7th.
So he's made a video about Ethan that he hasn't watched because it's too long, but he took the time to look into him and read every comments this guy's ever posted, and that's what Ethan will focus on to debunk the video. Now here's Ethan, just a few days ago, complaining that Hassan should watch the videos he made about him instead of relying on his chat to tell him what was said in these videos.
He didn't watch any of it. He's basing this based on, like, I guess, chat. And, you know, it's like, what do you... Talk about it or don't, man. You know? Don't do this shit.
Let's see if Ethan would rely on other people to watch the videos for him, because I have a big problem with this next clip.
He made a video. I haven't watched the whole thing. It's long as fuck, and I think everybody noticed as they were watching through it, even Hassan, I think, commented on it, that this video is a little fucking weird.
Yeah.
You mentioned you had watched it.
Yeah, I saw the whole thing. It is biased towards Hassan.
Even Hassan was getting like frustrated watching it, and he was confused. He's like, "This is fucking weird."
Yeah, Hassan didn't like the video at all, from what I recall. He thought it was weird, and the more it went on, the more he kind of like disliked it.
I was so disappointed by the crew when I saw that. I don't know if it's just bad faith or if they also didn't really watch Hassan's reaction, but I will show you a clip of him talking about this video.
What is it? Oh, I gotta go. I gotta finish. I'll finish this tomorrow. I gotta do the podcast. Personal news-wise, I ended the broadcast. We watched a YouTube video that was really good, and I highly recommend you guys check it out. It's by Comrade Casey in the chat, also known as the North Star Radio. Is that what it is? Is that what his YouTube name is? I forget.
Since we were talking about Hassan's chat, let's talk about it more because that's one of the main point of criticism Ethan has. He thinks his chat should challenge him more.
It makes me sad that people in his audience let him get away with this types of like hand waving. And once again, if you're a Hassan fan, challenge him to do better than this. This is dishonest. And more than that, I'd like for him to just respond to one of the points I made, just directly.
The do better part of this statement is really important because we recently had a great example of Ethan being challenged by his own chat to do better.
Truly disgusting, disappointed in you and the crew. Do better! The crew. If you had a dog, y'all wouldn't have thought twice, but it was a cat and you don't care. Shut up, you fucking freak, weirdo, loser.
So following Ethan's logic, how does he react to his own audience when they try to hold him accountable? He often uses two techniques. Here's the first one. Also, here's a clip I found interesting from just a few days before they turned off comments on all their recent videos. It's just too good.
He also started turning off replies. Yeah.
Ooh, that's cringy.
Yeah.
Logan did?
Logan turned off replies,
Oh,
yeah.
you know you lost.
Yep.
Maybe not.
That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
But apparently another problem Ethan has with Hassan is how he sometimes loses it and yells at his chat.
I fucking despise all of you, dude.
And you know, is it really cute the way that he like says crazy shit to his chat? I don't think it's really that cute. I don't know why people let him get away with that.
Now let's see how Ethan responded to the pushback from his chat the day after he made jokes about Aaron Bushnell, who set himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy. And I want to remind you, the people in the live chat are all paying members.
Well, unless I'm misunderstanding, tell me why. I'd love to know why.
What I saw.
Because you made fun of him burning. Okay, dummy. I joke about all this shit every fucking day. And now all of a sudden you gotta get all bitched out? Like, give me a break, dude. You know, suck my fucking dick. Give me a fucking break. Look in the mirror, loser. You're the problem. You are the problem. You are. Fuck you. Fuck you people. So why are you expressing such dumb fucking thoughts in my chat? Go somewhere else. Like, seriously, if you're that sensitive. So give me a fucking break. Who's the problem? Scumbag. Scumbag. So you're a fake fucking fan. Fuck you. Get lost. I'm sick of it.
But maybe it's just the chat that is overly sensitive, right? Ethan is known to make edgy jokes and to make fun of all different groups of people. We call it goblin mode, and that's why people love him.
Go somewhere else. Like, seriously, if you're that sensitive, that you need to go the f away and go to a community that is going to just tell you everything you want to hear all the time and never make you feel uncomfy. There's plenty of them out there. Go. It's really annoying that, like, people just, they stand by it, like, just waiting for any reason to call me. And by the way, why? Because I made one stupid, insensitive joke. If you can't deal with it, then you know, you're a fucking hypocrite, because I make these jokes about all different topics, about all different sensitive things, about all different groups of people, every fucking show. And then when it lightly brushes on your shoulder, you freak the fuck out, and you bitch, and you cry, and you go, and you try to find any reason to, you know what I mean, to get angry.
After hearing all that, I wonder how Ethan would react if he was the subject of a joke. Like he said, he makes jokes about all different groups of people. He's a free speech absolutist after all.
It's a panel hosted by Frogan and 4 of her friends, in which they have a tier list where they rate people where good is Arab and bottom is loves Sabra. Sabra is a very popular hummus brand. I know in Israel, it's pretty much in everybody's refrigerator, and it's kosher. They're an American company, but they've been the subject of the pro-Palestine boycott. I mean, it's kind of just Arab good, Jew bad.
Ethan Klein.
I told you guys to clap.
This is a good reaction.
That was a good one.
We're very proud of you, Denims, for bringing anti-Semitism right on stage, and you guys are killing it. And may I point out here, Chevron, Capcom, and Samsung, do you know that there is an Arab to Jew tier list happening in front of your sponsor?
This tier list isn't about being Jewish at all. Not only is one of the panelists Jewish, but in the Love Sabra category, people from all different races and religions were included alongside Ethan. It's more about not knowing much about Arabic culture and therefore eating shitty hummus.
What is it? Ramadan what? Lena.
Yeah, Ramadan Kareem or Ramadan Mubarak.
Bike?
Mubarak.
Oh, Mubarak. Mubarak.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You said it good.
What does it mean?
Mubarak Obama.
Happy Ramadan.
Mubarak Obama?
I want to address one last point in this video, and it's about the H3 Snark subreddit. For more than a year now, Ethan has been talking about it and saying how toxic this place is, how they promote harassment, doxing, stalking, and why it should be banned.
Because I believe these Snark subreddits on Reddit should be banned. It's literally fostering the most psychopathic, it encourages harassment, doxing, stalking. This is like, it's not as bad as jailbait, but it's like giving like, I have a feeling it's going to be banned, and then everyone will be like, that was insane. Why the fuck was that allowed on the website for so long? These people are literally fucking, it's cult behavior. I don't think they're allowed to like straight up brigade, so they're doing like a very loud dog whistle being like, hey, let's put a compilation of Ethan the whole snark phenomenon is so pathetic that Reddit allows this shit to continue, because it feels like every snark subreddit leans into like straight up psychopathy in terms of like the harassment and the intention to try to ruin somebody's life.
And one last time, let's go back to Ethan's reaction of the North Star radio video and how he uses his own subreddit when he faces criticism, even from a way smaller creator.
First of all, shout out to whoever did the ops on this. Lovely Callisto. Thank you. I made an Imager album of his H3 snark posts in chronological order and sprinkled in a few of his cringy main subreddit posts too along with it. So here's this fucking guy. Let's look at some of his greatest hits. He's also making fan covers and asking Ethan to bring back his personal channel. Grimace Shake and Fortnite full cover.
How dare you, dude?
Well, guess what, bitch? I know who the fuck you are, and I'm gonna have a conversation about it. Let me take a look at this guy's channel.
Shouting out his fans for screenshotting every comment and collecting every information on this guy and showing everything live. How is this different from what Ethan says the snark sub is doing? I mean, it might be even worse because of the power of a channel as big as Ethan's.
Here's a post. I don't know. Was this the same investigator? By the way, I didn't even mention this guy, and he's like deleting his shit. You should be scared, you scumbag.
Yes, he should be scared, because Ethan knows by doing that, he's sending his audience to harass this guy. Him and his crew know what their audience is capable of, even if Ethan plays dumb sometimes.
Well, I hope people don't hold us to the standard of what our community does.
Right.
What does our community do? I mean, you say that, but what do they do? Our community is fantastic. It's all love.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Name one thing.
They've never caused us any trouble by... I don't even want to go there.
Well, just tell me and I can button it. Even if they did something silly, because I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm sure it was silly and harmless.
Yeah, it's definitely silly and harmless. That's what I'm referring to.
But it's not sending like fucking hate and death wishes to supposed
That's exactly
friends.
what it is.
Anyway.
Ethan is a snarker. In fact, he's the ultimate snarker, weaponizing his audience to send massive hate waves and his crew to find intel on his enemies. By yelling at his chat when he gets any pushback, turning off comments, paying mods to heavily restrict what can be posted on his own subreddit, he's not letting any other place to have a nuanced conversation about his show or to present any criticism. He's been trying to portray the people who participate in this sub as stalker lunatics, but in reality, most of them are former big fans who are now disappointed in Ethan and were banned when they tried to express any pushback over the past year.
Oh, Comrade Casey just messaged me and said I'd appreciate not being talked about on the show.
Shut up, bitch! Talk about these nuts, motherfucker. You appreciate me not talking about you?
I just
Suck my dick, bitch.
He said I'd appreciate not being talked about on the show, and I responded, bruh.
I bet you,
and I blocked him.
motherfucker. Sucks to be outed as a piece of shit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Fuck you. How's that feel, Casey? I'm talking to you right now. Comrade Casey, we're not comrades anymore.
With all that being said, I know I won't change anyone's mind with this video, but if you felt the same way I did, just know you're not alone. In the past few weeks, all the other H3 fan channels I was in contact with for years, people who were as big of fans as I was, have told me they've also unsubscribed because of Ethan's hateful actions. That's it for this video. Take care and free Palestine.
Waypoint marked.
Enemy RCXD detected.
Sighted on target.
Bandit, I just...
I've never in my entire career been against such a dishonest, like hateful, persistently, like they're dirty, they don't care, they'll outwardly lie. This is an ongoing like joke with this community. These are just benign dudes, just I don't know what they're doing. It looks like they're doing charity or something. It looks like they've got water or boxes or something, like they're helping. This is what it is online. Hassan's community are the most psychotic people on the internet. He's a liar, dude. I hate to say it, but I do think it's related. I mean, it's kind of like, it's kind of Stalinist. The way that they'll just lie and say anything to frame anyone for anything.
It had just been discovered around the same time as this Arab tier list that Twitch had secretly, without announcing it anywhere, banned the entire country of Israel from creating new accounts.
They're just like in too deep on whatever the certain narrative is that they're committed to.
I feel like the reason I brought it up was mainly to express the frustration with Bibi and him firing the one guy that was somewhat, attempting at moderation. It wasn't really so much to say Gallant is a good guy. I shouldn't have used that word. That was a bad choice on my part, considering stuff that he has said that I was not even thinking of.
There's no room to allow
They have to win.
anything that deviates a little bit from no, this is the bad guy, this is the good guy.
All right, so these guys are clearly the bad guys.
There's nothing in between.
There's a story. They have a story. They cannot deviate from, no matter what. The artist I wanted to collaborate with decided I don't want to be associated because I'm Israeli. When we talk about how serious the rise in anti-Semitism, this is why it's scary for us. It's now so casual to just not want to associate with an Israeli just because I was born there. And this is the result of Hassan's type of activism. This is the result of this activism that this is the result of Hassan's activism. This is what it resounds to. This is the fault of people like Hassan. Zero progress for people in Gaza.
Last week, Ethan Klein released the long-awaited content nuke on Hassan Piker, his magnum opus, 2 months in the making, designed to end the career of Hassan Piker and anyone else in his political Twitch streaming orbit. Well, not anyone, mostly just Arabs and Arab women in particular. This video, from a metric standpoint, was a success. I mean, the H3 podcast hasn't hit 1 million views in 3 months, the last 1 million view video being entirely about Hassan. Ethan seemed to notice this trend and decided to go all out on a 2-hour crash-out content nuke to get it all off his chest. Or so we hoped, as the last 3 episodes of the H3 podcast have also been entirely about Hassan Piker. And in those 3 episodes, Ethan has really dug his own grave, showing us all that he truly is a shell of his former self.
Someone who has any sort of kindness in their heart.
I'm unkind now.
Wait, what is he talking about?
I'm a meanie head. He says, you have to be a total meanie head to make that video he made about me, which I haven't watched. Did you just call me a meanie head?
What? We're talking about kindness?
Yeah, are we doing...
We're way past that, Hassan. We hate you.
Yeah.
That's a word. Did you not get the memo?
I mean, what's kind about telling survivors that they're lying?
I'm currently working on a video going point by point through the content nuke and debunking the obviously incorrect claims. But today, I just want to take a quick look at the fallout of this nuke. Because Hassan is still averaging 40,000 live viewers. Ethan is still widely hated by the internet. And Ela Klein is losing business partnerships. The content nuke aimed for Hassan has backfired in an incredibly satisfying manner. Today's broadcast is brought to you by viewers like you. Become a member today and unlock exclusive content at patreon.com/NorthstarRadio. On the first episode back, Ethan basically himself off reacting to his own video.
Oh, you missed it? Let me go back.
Oh, yeah, we gotta see that.
I was doing some high level here, Dan. I had to do a tutorial for this part.
Filling a flag in the middle of campus, carried it to a mob by the gate that were communicating with the angry mobs outside of campus.
Untrained, inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon, telling us that we are all inbred and that we have no culture.
Oh, again. I believe it was a some kind of block swipe.
Yeah, block.
Yeah.
Very good.
And this is where Ethan's cognitive state comes into question, because this dude is so clearly not doing okay. While reacting to Hassan's response to the content nuke, Ethan claims that he's never tried to be a comedian.
Very intelligent. Definitely not a hack-ass, failed-ass, dumbass comedian.
Bro, I've never tried to be a comedian, a failed comedian. What are you talking about? It's not even a sore spot for me or anything, because I'm not a comedian. I've never tried to be a professional comedian.
This is despite Ethan calling himself a professional comedian over a dozen times throughout his career.
I'm a comedian. That's my job. I'm a comedian, right? I'm trying to make a joke. I know it looks crazy. I'm a comedian, and people are laughing. Unlike you, I'm a comedian, not a journalist, so I have a little more leeway. I'm a comedian, you know what I mean? I criticize people. I'm a comedian. First of all, I'm a comedian, so anything I say being considered defamation is almost like impossible. I had an idea, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I'm a comedian, you know, I'm out here, I'm in different lanes. I'm a professional comedian. Are any of them? I'm a professional comedian, you know what I mean? I'm the last line of defense, okay? I'm a professional comedian. Do you know that?
You know you're winning the debate when you start bringing up theories about Hassan's dog, Kaya, or who cooks him food off camera.
Comedian, in air quotes.
Ooh!
I didn't even hear what you said.
Not funny.
Air quotes.
Not funny. It's just like you're a socialist. By the way, theory time, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. Hassan says he adopted his dog. He went all over LA looking for the perfect dog. Oh, I went to all of these pounds. I couldn't find the perfect dog. But then magically, off camera, I found on Craigslist this post where they were giving away $20,000 designer dogs. And I was so lucky. Hassan Piker. Can anybody find me a Craigslist post where they're giving away $20,000 designer dogs? Because I'd like to inquire. He bought that dog, and he doesn't want to admit it, obviously. And by the way, I don't know. That's not the only lie he tells about his personal life. I did a story about it, but people didn't pick it up. But I don't give a f. This guy's a piece of shit. People need to ask Hassan who's cooking his chicken off screen. Who's cooking that chicken? Who's taking care of him? There's something he goes, don't tell anyone though, for obvious reasons. Somebody's cooking his chicken, and they don't look like they're getting a piece of the pie either. You know what I mean? They're not on that socialist. They're not on that socialized workplace salary. You know what I mean? Cooking chicken's a big deal. That's integral to his daily routine. Of course she's entitled to a % of his profits. Duh. Socialism, bro. Live it, bro. Live it. Be the socialist you say you are.
I think this is an important time to mention that it's well-known lore that Ethan was neglected as a child and was often sent to school with zero food to eat and zero lunch money.
My parents didn't take care of me as a kid. When they cooked, which was rare, it was just awful. I didn't eat. I would starve. It was that bad. I used to go to school. My parents wouldn't give me money, and they didn't make me a lunch. I would just starve. I would beg for food from my friends. Straight up, I would beg for food from my friends. I was a fair enough. Homeless child.
Ethan can't even fathom the idea of a loving parent.
His whole shtick for the past year has been saying liberal Zionist talking points and then getting mad at everyone when they go, are you a Zionist?
What liberal... Bro, the fantasy world that they've built is incredible. What liberal Zionist talk? What is a liberal Zionist talking point?
Ethan did so much research for this video, but has yet to understand what a liberal Zionist talking point is. Here are just a few examples.
People who would like to criticize the army and Israel need to understand that it's a daily threat that something needs to happen about it. It's not like we have a choice.
When you talk about privilege, let's talk about someone who's going to UC Berkeley, paid by their parents, $200,000 tuition on campus protesting Israel. Do you find that ironic?
I
God, how timely is this?
So ironic. I don't know. It's kids.
Thank you for contributing to this kind of stuff,
California,
Ethan.
Criticizing, like you don't even know what you're talking about.
What you hear is people criticizing national security and calling Israel like apartheid, and that they shouldn't have fences, or that Israel should be a one state with Palestinians and Israel's all living together. They should reduce the borders and remove the gate. That to me seems like super ignorant.
It is, because when I grew up, I couldn't really take a bus. I was afraid of blowing up.
Right.
And now it doesn't really happen. So the wall did help.
If there's a state of Palestine, it makes sense. But if you're in one state, all that's going to happen is like everybody is trying to bring as many people there as possible. And like by the time, there frankly are a lot of Palestinians, right, in the area. And once the Palestinians outnumber the Jews, basically
Anything is fair game for the Jews. Anything.
So in this response, Hassan calls out Ethan for, quote, crying like a bitch in their last conversation on Palestine.
You can talk to me in person, big dog. You got my phone number. We can have a conversation on your stream. We can have a conversation on my stream. Last time, I had the baby gloves on, and you cried like a bitch after doing Teddy Fresh ads in the midst of our genocide coverage.
Ethan sees this as an opportunity to dunk on Hassan for being some sort of toxic masculinity frat bro.
So Hassan says, last time, which was our last conversation on his stream, I had the baby gloves on, which was part of, I was like, dude, why are you patronizing me? And he goes, and then you cried like a bitch. Once again, this dude is against toxic masculinity. Apparently, he's a role model for leftist values. The frat bro veneer it's rearing its head. I'm telling you, this whole left-wing illusion is falling to the wayside. You say I cried like a bitch.
And only 2 days after the fact, Ethan went on a misogynistic rant about denims, where he called her a disgusting bitch several times. Of course, while his crew was dead silent.
And yes, she is a fucking bitch. Somebody that laughs in the face of other rape victims and immediately calls them liars, that's a fucking bitch of a person.
There are reports of Palestinian women in captivity talking about that experience.
Let's see. I found one of the sources. One of the ones that you quoted was like, I don't even know what the this is. Care.com. It's literally just like a little blurb. That's a huge claim. 15 Palestinian women were, what? I don't know what this is. What is this? Is this a source?
You're asking if it's credible.
Yes, Care is credible. I think, at least.
What is
Care is
There's no source. She is earning the coveted distinction of being a f***ing bitch. Congratulations. Enjoy the distinction. I've come here and I've made the distinction. I have decreed, let it be known, that denims is a dumb f***ing bitch. She deserved that. What she was doing, I'm standing by every syllable of that, okay? What she did was abhorrent. And by the way,
oh, and I got another shout out in this video. Thanks for keeping the Comrade Casey spirit alive.
You spent the next year constantly ripping into, suspiciously, a lot of, not myself, but other people of color. I'm not calling myself a person of color. I know it's going to get clipped out of context here as well, and then you're going to be like, meh, 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 whatever. No, just noticing that you have just been going after a lot of...
This guy is really throwing spaghetti at the wall. He's accused me of being racist. And that, to me, is like, my eyes rolled all the way in the back of my head if I had a seizure. Going after brown people, I'm assuming he's talking about people like Frogan and others who, by the way, I have never attacked unprovoked. Every single time I've talked about Frogan was a direct response to her. Every time. So what, she's brown? That's your takeaway? Is that because she's brown? That's the only reason I care that she's making fun of October 7th victims? That she's brown? That's for real? Are you being serious right now? Are you actually being serious right now? You're actually making this point right now. Okay, exactly. This is the brown people he's talking about. Yeah, Casey, Comrade Casey, who's waiting for a hot, bodacious hijabi babe in the park.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
Let's not forget about that. That's what woke leftist non-toxic masculinity looks like.
So this is the part of the video that I love so much. Because Ethan did basically zero research for his big content nuke that took 2 months, he makes a fool of himself twice with this one clip. First, it's on H3 Show 105, where Ethan reacts to a compilation of Hassan calling Jewish supremacists inbred.
Inbred. Douchebags in the background.
Like, these are just dudes standing back there.
Entirely comprised of messy.
And this is an ongoing.
Those are just dudes standing back there.
These are just benign dudes. I don't know what they're doing.
People.
It looks like they're doing charity or something. It looks like they've got water or boxes or something, like they're helping. And he's going, "Oh, look at these."
Yeah, they're helping.
It's like, bro, who are you? What are you? Who are you? Like, how dare you?
Yeah, so Ethan just straight up admits that he used footage as evidence in his content nuke without even understanding the context of the clip itself. It's almost like he didn't clip this himself from the original source, but instead found the clip online, probably on one specific subreddit. In this clip, Hassan is watching a group of Jewish supremacist Nazis, basically, blocking aid trucks from entering Gaza and stealing and destroying the aid inside. They're not doing charity like Ethan thinks. thinks they are.
This comes just days after Israeli settlers blocked aid trucks headed to Gaza through the occupied West Bank from Jordan. Footage of the incident shows settlers raiding the aid trucks, throwing food into the road and setting fire to vehicles at the Tarkumia checkpoint near Hebron in the occupied West Bank. Palestinian truck drivers say they fear for their lives after the attack.
We went to the checkpoint, and after the check, we were surprised to see settlers on the roundabout of the checkpoint. They damaged the cars, they tore the tires off the trucks, they threw the contents of the truck on the ground. We gathered some of the products and sent some of those products onto a bulldozer and sent them to the sheep farms. Around 15 trucks were damaged. Their hull was damaged, windows of the trucks were broken, some drivers were beaten, some of the products were thrown away, and the whole loss for Hebron is around $2 million.
And then on H3 Show 107, Ethan reacts to Hassan watching this clip, but once again takes it out of context and makes himself look like a fool all over again.
And at a certain point, people are going to be like, you're using these sorts of clips out of context?
Bro, he is so pathetic. First of all, he hasn't watched the video. And this is like one of his main go-tos for any criticism. It's always like out of context, out of context, out of context. He hasn't watched the video. What's out of context, bro? Your reaction is out of context. You got no context.
Notice how you move the needle, you move the goalpost. I said that it's out of context. You demanded I describe to you what the context is, and you immediately moved on, and you're like, well, that's not the major point of the.
But you didn't.
What is he talking about?
Apparently, a chatter is calling him out. Like, he says, how do you know the context? You haven't watched the video. I'm assuming was it. But then he goes, oh, really? Well, you moved the goalpost. It's like, but you didn't answer. You didn't tell him what the context is. So there was no kick. When you move the goalpost, you're moving it further from the kick. There's no kick.
At a certain point, you have to understand, like, okay, well, if this is incorrect, do you like being incorrect?
Can anybody tell me what the he's talking about? He hasn't watched it. He hasn't cited anything that's out of context. He's talking about, oh, you're incorrect and you like. What is he talking about? How do people watch him? He literally will talk and drone on about nothing. He just regurgitates words. It's just word vomit.
Like, what are you talking about? You're making it seem like this is a formative work. It's very clear what the intention of the video is.
Dude, you haven't seen it.
And also, notice how you move the needle, you move the goalpost. I said that it's out of context. You demanded I describe to you what the context is, and you immediately moved on, and you're like, well, that's not the major point of the video.
You didn't do the context thing. You didn't explain
At a certain point, you have to understand, like, okay, well, if this is incorrect, do you like being incorrect? I guess you do.
How do you know they're incorrect? He's not. What is he saying?
If you missed it, here's the part of the video Ethan very conveniently skips over.
Chatter was asking for how certain things are clipped out of context. Here, this is a great example.
Douchebags in the background,
just dudes standing back there,
entirely comprised of messy.
And this is an ongoing like joke with this community. These are just benign dudes. Just I don't know what the fuck they're doing. It looks like they're doing charity or something. It looks like they've got water or box.
They're doing charity. Remember, by the way, this is a video that he quote unquote researched for months.
Or something like they're helping, and he's going, oh, look at these. It's like, bro, who are you? Like, how dare you?
Guys, the Israeli police is investigating the attack on the Gaza aid convoy.
Israeli security forces are paid to stop this happening. They either could not or would not, but clearly did not prevent Israeli settlers attacking an aid convoy yesterday from the West Bank bound for Gaza, where, say aid agencies, hundreds of thousands of civilians face famine.
But during the unloading and loading, settlers attacked these trucks, destroying the products and burning them in a systematic act of sabotage.
A continuation of images seen yesterday as settlers destroyed food at the same crossing point.
So, does that make sense? Do you understand now? Every single clip that he used, every single one is exactly like this. Where's that one chatter who asked that question? I assume he f***ed off immediately after coming in and saying, like, this is, no, he said some other stupid shit. I mean, that's clearly not the messaging of the video. If you're saying his claim is you scared him, like, do you have any media literacy whatsoever? Do you think I need media literacy to understand a YouTube drama slop video? Like, what are you talking about? You're making it seem like this is a formative work. It's very clear what the intention of the video is. And also, notice how you move the needle, you move the goalpost. I said that it's out of context. You demanded I describe to you what the context is, and you immediately moved on, and you're like, well, that's not the major point of the.
But you didn't.
What is he talking about?
Apparently, a chatter is calling him out like, he says, how do you know the context? You haven't watched the video. I'm assuming was it. But then he goes, oh, really? Well, you moved the goalpost. It's like, but you didn't answer. You didn't tell him what the context is. So there's no goal. There was no kick. When you move the goalpost, you're moving it further from the kick. There's no kick.
At a certain point, you have to understand, like, okay, well, if this is incorrect, do you like being incorrect?
Can anybody tell me what the he's talking about? He hasn't watched it. He hasn't cited anything that's out of context. He's talking about, oh, you're incorrect, and you like, what is he talking about? How do people watch him? He literally will talk and drone on about nothing.
I mean, how can you be so confident in your hallucinations that you make such a foolish error? I guess when your very progressive audience gets replaced with Destiny fans who flood your subreddit with clipped out of context footage, that's how it happens. Oh, but Ethan doesn't know Destiny, so that can't possibly be the case, even though this post and this post and this post and this post were either from the Destiny subreddit or from the H3 subreddit posted by someone active on the Destiny subreddit. I mean, just look at this chart from overlapping communities on Reddit. The blowback from the content nuke really started to materialize in H3 show 106.
Hello, my friends. We are here. We are back. There's just way too much to talk about. Never ending, guys. Appreciate y'all being here. Thank you to Gamer Subs for sponsoring us today. Thank you to the gang. What's up, people of the world?
The content nuke clearly didn't work as intended, so Ethan begins gleefully reacting to Trump saying he's going to ethnically cleanse the Gaza Strip, all the while Ethan blaming this on Hassan.
Trump has had some brilliant ideas on Gaza, once again reminding people that I voted and advocated for Kamala Harris, and Hassan did not.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I envision a world, people living there, the world's people. I think you'll make that into an international unbelievable place. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip
Gambling.
is unbelievable.
And you know he's going to call it like the Trump Strip.
Mara Gaza.
Mara Gaza.
Gaza.
And I'll tell you who wouldn't be clearing out Gaza to build casinos. Kamala Harris.
I think it's
I can with 100% certainty say that the two candidates are not the same. I did my part to stop this. I wish I could say the same for other folks. It's a shame. I want to say this right now. If you are a leftist who said, I'm abstaining from voting for Kamala. If you are a leftist who said Kamala and Trump are the same on this issue. If you are a leftist who voted for Jill Stein, I say this, and I know you guys are and pissing the bed and doing everything you can to pretend like this take is like the worst, dumbest, most outlandish, and also probably racist.
We're waiting.
Racist thing you could say. This is all in your lap, and you don't get to say. All these people are gonna be like, Trump, I can't believe. No, you just sit down and take it, because this is all on you, and I don't give a what you say. This is what.
Yeah, what was it that made him think that what Kamala Harris would be doing would be any different from what Trump was doing? Was it when she told pro-Palestinian protesters at her rallies to shut the fuck up? I'm speaking. Crap. Like, yeah, you want me to vote for you, but you tell me to shut up? That's absurd. Or was it the fact that she said that she was going to continue with Joe Biden's policy? No, like she was directly asked. I forget which interview it was, but like, you gonna change? What's going on there? She's basically like, nope. We're gonna keep doing what Joe Biden's doing. Israel has a right to exist. Bring those hostages home. So what is Ethan talking about? That's better than what Trump's doing? Shut up. Fascists are they're the worst. Thanks. And this guy is just, read a book. Put your stupid fucking face into a book.
This kind of activism that Hassan and people like him, this is the outcome of their activism. It is, people need to start thinking about like, what is this level of activism we see of like extraordinarily extremist, zero nuance, straight up hateful, uncompromising, you know, what is the outcome of this level of activism? What have they done for Gaza? Literally, what have they done for Gaza? What have they done for Gaza? Serious, I'm being dead serious. They've done nothing. They are ineffective,
Okay, I'm gonna go off stream
completely
right now.
ineffective,
So I can
completely
let my
worthless as
console cool
advocacy
down. I'll be back
goes.
later.
A total failed movement.
And then the CEO of Teddy Fresh joined in on the blow.